channel, we're going to be taking a look at the fact there's so much focus on population and demographics, to be very specific here. This from the Trump White House here, none other than the golem of the administration, Stephen Miller, who put this up earlier today. An article, I say article, is really just a link in the picture, but from something called Pewity that claims for the first time since the 1930s, more people are moving out of America than are moving in. People are leaving for other countries in droves. To which Stephen Miller responded, they are migrants returning home. So yes, indeed, taking a look at this, not sure where these pictures come from, but they are celebrating the fact about that. They are celebrating the fact about that. So that lets you know that they are keeping their eye on things to the extent that they are. Of course, if they were treating so many of the folks who employ the illegal aliens the way they do under RICO for black folk, asset forfeiture and whatnot, it never would have happened in the first place, and it wouldn't be happening right now because they're not doing that. If ICE was going around and arresting, I don't know, farmers, hotel owners, manufacturing companies, if they were going and arresting the folk who opened them because these things are already illegal, if they were treating them under RICO, and if they were giving them asset forfeiture, you'd see this kind of stuff stop overnight. It really, really would. So just understand it's a game. But they are concerned about it to an extent because they're really concerned about, okay, what the white number's doing. Because remember, Trump is bringing over a bunch of white South African migrants. What? Remember? Trump is bringing over a bunch of white illegal aliens from South Africa. Remember? There's no problem with numbers for that. That doesn't bother him. That doesn't bother him at all. So, like I say, nobody ever said white supremacy was intelligent. No one ever said that. No one ever said they were smart. However, there are other folks who are concerned about this as well. None other than Elon Musk. Why he's very, very worried. I'll come back to that post here in just a minute. But from the Wall Street Journal, there's an article about making sense of America's low fertility rate. Elon Musk is very concerned. Quote, humanity is disappearing. Of course, you need to question him about what he defines as humanity. After all, we talked to his fellow Afrikaner, Peter Thiel. And we all heard what when Peter Thiel was asked about should humanity survive, should humanity endure, he sat there and was like, well, maybe. Elon Musk, who his relation, for a guy who doesn't have any positive relationships with any people, he claims to be so concerned about humanity and people, and yet this guy doesn't have any positive, agreeable close relationships with any people. He's got relationships with machines and devices and computer code. He doesn't actually have any relationships with any people, including his own offspring. Damn! By the way, no, that's not hitting below the belt. That is not hitting below the belt. But for a guy who doesn't have any productive, constructive, fulfilling relationships with any people, including his own offspring, he sure is concerned about offspring. So what is he really concerned about? Is he concerned about the human race, or is he concerned about his control and sees this as a factor and variable of his control of an asset? He also posted up this. He posted up a number of things about population. So, guys like him and Trump, it's like, yeah, you guys are strung out on drugs. And so they just sit there tweeting all the damn time just to show you that these guys don't do anything. To anyone telling you that these billionaires and these rich folk, they're hard at work and they're working all the time, the hell they are. They wouldn't have time to tweet day and night every 30 minutes if they were actually doing anything. So they sit up here and tell you that they're busy. And I'm like, all of the rest of us, we ain't got time to tweet like this. Now, the rest of us, we're not making anywhere near what they make, and we don't have, if somebody paid us to tweet this often, we couldn't make it happen and conduct our regular lives. So, yeah, these guys don't do anything. Sit there, get stoned, bummed out, and then come back and tell you, oh, I was over here working very hard, very hard, diligent over here. So in any case, he's very concerned now about India's birth rate. Well, remember, the H-1B visas, him and Vivek Ramaswamy, that was the only thing that they agreed on, is that we need to make sure that the flow of virtual and potential employees for his company, well, we can't slow that down. Remember, Elon Musk said that you're a racist. You're a racist if you don't want to allow him unlimited access to his Asian recruiting workforce. Remember? A white supremacist Afrikaner, Elon Musk. All of a sudden, racism is bad. He loved racism right until folks said, yeah, we need to cut in your bottom line. Wait. Racism is great. Racism is bad now. You can't do that. So he puts up this chart from AF Post. India's fertility rate has fallen below replacement for the first time in the country's history, declining from 2.3 to 1.9 in just a decade. We've talked about this before. We talked about this before at length. Been attempting to warn people about this. When people lie to you about what their real motive is for illegal aliens coming into the country, when people lie to you about these things, when they lie to you about the future, I've been telling you this now going on for 2 decades, that as the rest of the world becomes more industrialized and raises itself from third world status, the natural side effect of that is going to be population equilibrium. Children are the investments of the poor. As you become more affluent, it becomes less necessary to have large booming families for a number of reasons. And take a look what you see on the list. South Korea, China, Delhi, Finland, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal. On down the list, Norway, the United States, and then below it, India, Bangladesh. So you can see they're keeping a close eye on things because they're sizing up to see where their future human resources will come from. And what they are seeing is that they used to be able to think, well, don't worry, we'll just go get folk from Mexico. Spoiler alert, population is doing the same thing in Mexico too. You are not going to have this endless supply of human capital. Add to the fact that it has been government policy to encourage abortion, because black folk in this country, we would have 3 times the numbers that we have right now if it weren't for the fact that it's government policy to impose, encourage, promote, demand abortion, specifically targeted our group. So these individuals here, when they talk about this, they're panicking. They're panicking for a reason. They're panicking for a reason here because they're trying to figure out, how do we solidify this thing? We need to know, who are we going to be dealing with? Who are the honorary whites that we can recruit from? Who's going to be on the team? They're juggling a whole bunch of things right now. They're trying to juggle a whole bunch of things. And just letting you all see what the numbers are doing here, you're not going to be able to pull these numbers from South Korea, Japan, even China anymore. The numbers are leveling out across the board, and these other countries are going to be focusing on keeping their populations where they are, even if they have to basically lock down the whole nation. So the MAGAs and the racists and the white supremacists are very concerned about what the ramifications of this will be. They're very concerned about that because, remember, they're they need to keep the engine of capitalism going. Elon Musk is not the slightest bit desirous to see his economic fortunes decrease. He's not the slightest bit interested in seeing any slowdown. So they want those numbers to continue. They don't give a damn where the numbers come from. So it puts them in a quandary. Because here's the problem. The problem is white people are not having babies by choice. So you can sit up, Elon, and whine and complain, but here's the thing. Hey, Elon, while you're sitting up here amassing $1 trillion in wealth for yourself, you know, maybe if you pass some of that money on to your employees that you've stolen it from the taxpayers, maybe if you pass some of that on to your employees, maybe a certain percentage of them would be able to, it would be easier for them to afford a family. You know, Elon, while you're buying your 7th or 8th New York penthouse for your 7th or 8th baby mama, you know, at a cost of $10 or $20 million, you know, if you pass that on to your employees, maybe they'd be able, maybe they can't afford a $20 million penthouse. Maybe they could afford, I don't know, a $400,000 home. You know, so that they can have their own family. No, they wouldn't have 7 or 8 baby mamas like you. They wouldn't be able to do that, but maybe if you passed it on, maybe your employees could do something, because clearly what you're finding out is that you're not going to be able to replenish that white population all by yourself. That's not working out, although it's very clear that it's your sincerest effort to attempt to do so. Clearly, you ain't up to the task. So, yeah, you're going to have to outsource that. So maybe if some of your employees were sitting on a bit more money than they're getting now, maybe that would be able to help them facilitate some of this stuff you're complaining about, since you clearly can't do it single-handedly. Just a thought. Just a thought that you're probably responsible for this. Because you see, you can't whine and beg your way out of this. If you can't force people to have children, you can't force them to do that. You're going to have to either make it easier for them to do that or find something that encourages them even more. And white supremacists only know about abusive tactics, so that doesn't work. So he's very worried because he's looking forward to the future, and these are things that will catch up to them very, very quickly. See, we were talking about falling white population rates 40 years ago. They had already predicted that. Still on track to be to be outnumbered by 2050, still on track for that. So he's very concerned about that because that's going to have ramifications for politics, not just at the federal level, but at the state level and the local level, which is what individuals like Elon Musk rely on. Remember, it is government fiat in California taking taxpayer dollars to build out the charging stations. Tesla didn't build those out. That's tax dollars that did that. So they help facilitate his company and everything else he's gotten from SpaceX and so on. So yes, he's very concerned about what will happen because as the demographics will change, you won't have a population that is quite so agreeable to you readily along racial lines. Those headwinds are going to increase. So he's very, very worried about the ramifications of that. Very, very concerned about where that's going to go. And, you know, with good reason. When you take a look at those numbers, no, that's not very encouraging for you, Elon. It really, really isn't there. No, it's really not encouraging for you there at all. Not at all. Although, you know, I don't know. Maybe there are other things. Maybe there are other reasons. Maybe there are other things or other reasons to look at. Because there's a number of things that are going on that could contribute to this. And Elon is concerned. He's concerned about, you know, the next generation. And we all know that that's really just from him talking about white population. He's concerned about white families and white genetics. He's very, very concerned about that. So, I don't know. Maybe he should be worried because when you take a look at what's happening with the next generation, oh boy, he's got a Oh, he's got a reason to be concerned so far as I can tell. All right. So, yeah, baby Huey got a hold of mom. And, yeah, so Elon's worried about the next generation. Oh, with good reason, clearly. With very good reason there. So, yeah, Elon, all right, Elon, I think it's about more than just having kids, though, Elon. It's more than just having children. It's more than just that. So, all right. Yeah, boy, he came through there like a pimp named Sweetback. What? Yeah, Elon needs to have a different conversation. Need to have a different conversation, Elon. So, yes, you are worried about the next generation, Elon. You're very worried about them, and you should be. Based on what I'm witnessing here, you should be. There's a lot to be worried about. There's a lot to be worried about, but I'm like, when you take a look at what they choosing what they're choosing to birth in the next generations, when you take a look at what they're choosing to give birth to, I don't know, Elon, you might want to hit that brake. Might want to stamp that brake one time and just take it a little bit slower. Don't just figure everything will come out in the wash. Don't just do that. That might not work. But they're looking around at the rest of us here. They're looking around at the rest of us, and they're doing little things to see if they can get us on their side. One of those things in particular here is, by the way, Senator John Cornyn. Senator John Cornyn of Texas wants to let everyone know that Texas has passed a bill becoming the first state in the nation to make Juneteenth an official state holiday. Yeah, remember I was explaining this to you all there last night, that don't let some of these things fool you about when they're redrawing these districts and stuff, because you have a significant black population in Texas. You have a significant black population in Texas, and some of these overt white supremacist moves you make gets people mobilized. So here they are, and they're jumping out there when we will make Juneteenth an official state holiday. More symbolism. So they're taking a page out of Joe the Bigot Biden's playbook. They're taking a page out of his playbook that, on the one hand, they can practice white supremacy. This is what Trump does. Like Trump, I want you all to understand what Trump's strategy is. It is not random. I know it seems like what Trump does is all random, but it's not. It isn't. What Trump does is, he does something heinously white supremacist. So one day he's with you, and the next day he's working against you. And it's that back and forth and back and forth. That's the game that he plays. And the triangulation of it is expected to make you think that, well, he's just an equally bad SOB. But just understand what the game is that they play. So one day they're working against you, then the next day they throw something out there. But these are these tokens. This is a non-tangible. This is irrelevant. Redrawing district lines, that's a tangible. Withholding resources, that's a tangible. That's what I'm talking about right there. That kind of stuff, those are tangibles. So the reason why this is ridiculous is because this is a non-tangible. We ain't going for symbolism. If there were some tangibles that came along with a state holiday, this would be a different argument, a different discussion. But there are no tangibles that come along with that. So that's why we're not falling for that. Second of all, it's a new day. We're not looking to you to approve what we celebrate, how we celebrate it, when we celebrate it. We're not looking to you for that. But you're trying. Now, I got a number of things I do want to touch on here, because there's a lot going on besides that. I mean, there's other things that are happening. There's other things that are going on here, when you see all these folk, doing what they're doing, I like to keep my eye on the ball about these things. Like to keep my eye on the ball about it because there's other stuff that's going on here as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least point this out. Yeah. With everything else going on with Elon Musk monitoring population numbers, the white supremacists running wild, and so on and so forth. Very happy to know the Divine Nine are still on the job. North Carolina Central University's Alpha Kappa chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity made history with their Fall 25 line, The 60 Resilient Souls. 60 strong young kings.
Nigga, what?
Crossed into the bond, becoming the largest line in the chapter's history. In case you didn't know what it was, y'all, welcome to the bond. Well, thank you, Ski. Okay. 60 resilient souls holding it down. Let me go ahead and show you all exactly what they're talking about. Where's Mark Lamont Hill? All I see is skinny pants. I'm sure that Turning Point USA is shaking in their boots. Oh, absolutely. Mark Zuckerberg and all the other white supremacists very, very worried. Yes, this is a competent use of your time and abilities. Yeah, if you want to know what the Divine Nine and Roland Martin are all doing and what they're about, here it is. That's right. Go ahead and sit in the lap of the next guy in front of you there. Go ahead and do, or the next guy behind you. Go ahead and do that. Yes, sir. Nothing says strong manhood like this. That says it all when you think about it. So if you want to know what the answer to Elon Musk and friends is, if you want to know, don't worry, y'all. The Divine Nine are on the job. If you are wondering what the response to the white supremacists would be, fear not. The Divine Nine, the Roland Martins, and all their group, they are on the case. They are on the case. Why don't these look like a bunch of strong kings to you? Doesn't it? Because somebody wrote a post calling them kings. Because this is what kings do. Yeah, doesn't this look royal to y'all? This is what kings do. All right. Not going to drag that out for you there much more, but in case you were wondering if anybody else was involved, by the way, oh yeah, there's other folks out there. There are other folks out there, so let's go ahead and get them started early. These other folk have secret societies. They have secret societies where you don't know anything and don't hear anything. You don't know what they're doing. You don't find out until way later, and just understand this right here. Yeah, Tom Slick, This played out back with Spike Lee in School Days. This doesn't impress anyone. As a matter of fact, this is offensive. You got these white folk in their schools, at their colleges with tech incubators, looking for venture capital, private equity. That's what they're doing. Mark Zuckerberg didn't get a damn dress code until a couple of years ago. No, he was too busy conquering the world. Meanwhile, over here, this is what they got, is damn meat plantation dancing and a bunch of clowns in the stands promoting that because single motherhood. If you had some real men talking here, which you don't, all I see is skinny pants. And by the way, let me go back to here at the beginning before I forget. Who is damn me Boosie Collins right here? What? When I take a look at this is this fella sitting up here squishing them together to make sure they sitting on each other's laps? Yeah, is he sitting there? I mean, he looked like he weighed about $103. But is that fella literally sitting there pushing on them? I'll hold back the tide. Okay. So he's in charge of squishing all the young manhood together. He's in charge of that. So, yeah. Yeah, you all thought that the foolery was limited to just the so-called athletes. You thought it was just that. But no, this looks like some buck-breaking humiliation rituals and initiation rituals. It looks like that. It looks like that to me. So Elon Musk is worried about controlling global population numbers. And these other folks are concerned about hopping into another dude's lap on graduation or whatever. So the future looks bright. It's okay.
Oh, please.
All right. Yeah, aren't you all impressed? Aren't you all enheartened here? Can't you see everything's on the ball? Don't you see that? It's all in hand. When you got focusing on population numbers, don't you know they're going along with everything else? The people who are focusing on that, they're never focusing on just that. They're always blatant, overt white supremacists doing it. And it would be different if Elon Musk was just a guy on Twitter, but he's not. He's got direct access to the damn White House. He's got direct access to the White House and the U.S. government and all the state governments. Direct access. So under these circumstances, everybody should be 10 toes down and on alert, or at least you should be. You should be. So I wanted to give you a wake-up call about that. That, by the way, yeah, the enemies are out there mobilizing and watching and counting and seeing who they're removing. By the way, one more reminder here. You know, a whole bunch of folk done got quiet. They've been quiet, and they're going to remain quiet. It's no more fun and games about this because, you see, this is supposed to be the part where we're supposed to jump in and jump up and start running interference for people. This is the part where we're supposed to do that. My answer to that is no. My answer to that is not no, but hell no. No, we are not running interference. We are not jumping in here. We're not yelling. We're not hollering. We're not sounding any alarms. We're not doing any of that. We are not doing any of that. Folks need to sound alarms for what the hell we talking about, but we will not be sounding alarms here because we've been warning folks the whole time, and then they encourage this. So it's about damn time that they went ahead and spread some of this misery to everybody else here and let them go ahead and get focused. Kind of hard for them. I understand. Kind of hard. Kind of hard because you see and you hear certain things. Now, I want to warn you all in advance before I show this. I want to warn you all in advance about this because this is kind of important here. This is kind of important here. I want you to understand exactly what you're seeing here. I want to show you a video here. And my real point is not about the video. That's not really what it's about. My real thing is about the commenters. My real thing is about the commenters. So let me go ahead and start with this. By the way, it's been blurred out. But this was posted by a Kim Katie USA. Now, before I do that right quick, one more thing. I want to make sure I've dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's here. I want to make sure that I've done that. Because if I haven't, I want to make sure that I got all the right information for that. Because you know how this can be sometimes. So this person here is shown up. Okay. They're based in the United States, although I don't think that this event occurs in the United States. The reason why I'm going over this is because Miss Kim Katie USA, as you can see from her profile, born in Vietnam, American patriot, born in Vietnam. Okay. All right. And she had this video. An immigrant drops his pants in the middle of a packed public commuter train. Riders have seen enough, literally. They took matters into their own hands, fists, and feet. This is a female, and the comment section isn't a whole lot different as far as that's concerned. Now, I want to play the audio so you can hear their accents.
Yo, you need to get off the fucking train, bro.
Fuck off!
You need to get off
Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off!
What do you mean, fuck off?
Fuck off!
You need to get off the fucking train, mate. There's fucking kids about, man.
Right, let's go.
What the fuck, mate? Get off the fucking train, bro. Yo, put up your trousers. Put up your fucking trousers, mate. No. Go.
All right, now, yeah, you can probably hear those are UK accents. Now, here's the first thing that jumps out to me. Once again, they never come after you by themselves.
Right, let's go.
So the first thing you need to understand is they never come by themselves. They never come by themselves. That's the first thing I want you all to have some reminders of here. Never coming by themselves. So I want you to understand why folks are cheering about that. I just wanted to point out to you, first of all, the first thing I noticed is, by the way, folks are real brave and bold, but they're not by themselves. So whether it's Carmelo Anthony or anyone else, I want you to understand, Eric Garner or anybody else, just understand, first thing is they make sure that, the fairness. What did Richard Spencer tell you? They don't believe in fairness. Oh, no fairness here. It's about power and dominance. So first thing I wanted to point out was that. Next thing I wanted to point out is, by the way, did he touch anybody? Now, the next thing I'm saying is, by the way, did he touch anybody? I'm bringing it up for a reason. So, once again, these will be the same folks who will tell you what you cannot do. Because if somebody is offensive, like somebody running around calling folk niggers all over the place, why, they would tell you that if you're offended by a word, oh yeah, folks, the 720 degrees of analysis you receive absolutely nowhere else. Remember this rationale for the folks who tell you that you have no right to do anything to somebody if they didn't put their hands on you, and yet whether it's Daniel Penny or this situation here, all of a sudden now they have the right to do anything they want to you physically without you touching anyone. And yet they will be the first ones to turn around and tell you, oh, no, you can't touch it. I don't care if they call you nigger. I don't care what they do. If they didn't touch you, you should have just ignored it. You're too easily offended. Okay, well, these folks are too easily offended, right? Because I want you to see about the comment section. The comment section defending that. The comment section. Yeah, the comment section defending that. I just wanted you to notice that the comment section defending, he didn't touch any of you. Well, we're not going to ignore that, and him not touching you doesn't matter. So I wanted to let you all know, not just that this event occurred, doesn't matter when. Take a look at the comments and what they're saying about a fella didn't touch anybody. Well, we're offended by it. And the fact that we are white and offended by it, that justifies everything we're going to do next. Which, of course, is going to end the only way it can. By the way, when I just told you they're not by themselves. And yeah, I couldn't help but notice. Yeah. So if you wonder what was happening there, it's like, okay, I gotta be careful here on YouTube. But yeah, I wanted you to see what the crowd said. The crowd said, you don't have to touch anybody. The crowd said, if we are offended enough, that justifies taking action. And all we're saying is that this will be the rule for everybody. This will not be the rule for just one person. This will be the rule for everybody. If it's okay to do this because you are offended, remember, I thought the rule was if nobody is touching you. I thought that was the rule. And every time we come back and show them another example, they say, oh, no. This is over the line too. So I want you to understand what you're dealing with. Now, I'm not saying that I condone it. Obviously, you got folk running around recording people with obvious mental issues, obvious psychological issues, and you can catch that anywhere. Anybody who's been on a train in California has seen this. If you really want to demonize some folk, you can go down to any of the fentanyl districts, the meth districts. There's plenty of white folk out there doing the exact same thing. San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, Bangor, Maine. There's plenty of white folk out there, mental issues, cracked out on drugs, doing the exact same. If you wanted to demonize folk, see, black folk just don't go around doing mess like this. We don't go around recording things and trying to sit up here and have some psychological media race war. You got plenty of white folk do this. We got better things to do and go around and do that. So you could catch them doing that if you wanted to there. And yet, if this were reversed and this were a white man standing on a train, obviously with issues like that, and a group of black men ran up and just started beating him down, and in the comments section talking about that, you would have Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson talking about they're jumping people, and wasn't it Tucker Carlson talking about this? That's dishonorable. It's always a group of them on one person. That's animalistic. Okay, what is this then? And is Megyn Kelly going to say anything? Of course not. I just want to put that in its proper context when they start telling you all about what you shouldn't be doing and how you should engage, or if you should. These would be the same folks that if you did the same thing, they would be telling you that you were wrong. They would be telling you that you had no right to do that. They'd be telling you that you should let the police handle that. They would have told you, who are you to, if you're so offended, And it would be Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and the rest of all the white supremacists. They'd be the first ones there in line telling you that. They'd be the first ones saying it to you. So I wanted to put that in this context as well when I see this kind of thing. So don't be confused about what's motivating these things. And don't sit up here and tell yourself, because whether you got immigrant coons like Barrister or others, don't sit up here and tell yourself that, oh, there's some misunderstanding. In the chat room, Shinakuma, yeah, white men don't fight like that. Tucker, they do this all the time. It's like, yeah, Tucker lies so damn much. It's like, okay, now you got folks putting together whole reels of it showing him contradicting himself. So it's just that bad. But white men don't fight like this. They fight like this all the time. What are you talking about? We got plenty of footage. This is the rule. This happens all the time, which has been the damn point. Carmelo Anthony was surrounded by a pack of cavemen. Mel Gibson said a pack of... what did Mel Gibson say, y'all? Okay, well, in any case, and what I'm saying is that this person is sitting up here saying that they took matters into their own hands, fists, and feet. Well, isn't this interesting that they never endorse us taking matters into our own hands? Because someone is verbally assaulting people and offending them and assaulting you in your public spaces. What, they told you that they got freedom of speech. Remember? End of snack cakes and the rest of them folk, remember, they told you they got freedom of speech. Oh, okay, well, unless you offend them, then all of a sudden you don't have freedom of speech. Yeah, they only believe in freedom. They only talk about freedom of speech when it's them abusing it on you. But if you try that, all of a sudden they tell you you don't have freedom of speech. Why, you have freedom of speech so long as they say you have it. You have the liberty to sit in a seat as long as they say you do. See, Trayvon Martin doesn't have the right to walk down a public street if a white man accosts him. Well, you don't have any rights. And every white person is deputized for domestic terrorism against you. You don't have any rights. Ahmaud Arbery jogging down the street. You don't have any rights. Any random white person is deputized to walk up and challenge your civil rights. Folks, those are the slave codes. I must remind you about the slave codes. Remember the slave codes. Any random white person could walk up to you and challenge your freedman status. 12 years a slave. And I'm just showing you that you're in a more industrialized era, but the same rules and the same pathology are still at work. Any random white person is authorized by the common law of white supremacy to challenge your rights or to outright revoke them. Any random white person is deputized to do that. They can tell you what you can do and what you cannot do. Now, what you cannot do is run up to any random white person and tell them that you are revoking their civil rights and that you're saying to them they can't do that. Now, I want to take this a little bit further for you all. If this had been a black female, do you think that this comment section would be any different? Do you think that this comment section would be talking or acting any differently? if this were a black female. That's very interesting because I'm pretty sure that if this were a white female and a group of black people jumped on her for doing that, the comment section would be squealing about how that was animalistic and unnecessary and you all shouldn't have done that. And okay. Megyn Kelly would be first in line. Megyn Kelly would be first in line. She's MIA on everything else, but Megyn Kelly would, break out of the Klan meeting for a hot minute to come and yell about it. So I want to remind you that when you go and test cases like this is technically speaking far away from the Carmelo Anthony situation so that you can have an idea here. In case you missed it, I'm not endorsing dudes running around doing this mess, but what I am saying is, by the way, you all told us that we didn't have a right to do that, remember? You all told us that if somebody is offending you, then the problem is you. Remember? They said that if somebody is doing something that offends you, so long as they don't touch you, they're doing something that offends you, that doesn't give you the right for you to physically manhandle them because you don't like something that you heard or you don't like something that you saw. Remember? Let me give you an example, folks. Okay, if to anybody who would say, well, this is different. First of all, if you say this is different, you're a white supremacist or a coon, one or the other. So very glad you exposed yourself. Pardon the expression. However, to anybody who would say, well, what he was doing was obscene. This was obscene, and you should not be obscene in public like that. Obscene. This is obscene. Okay, fine. So when you got somebody like Chud the Blunder going around using obscene language, going around making obscene gestures, well, that's obscene too. Now, if you are not endorsing us handling that the same way, once again, that's a problem. That's a problem. If that kind of thing occurs. So Chud the Blunder was being very obscene. Chud the Blunder was being very obscene, and yet how were we told to handle that? Well, did they endorse us handling an obscene situation like that? That's what I'm asking you all. The 720 degrees of analysis you receive absolutely nowhere else. You see, when they sit up here and inflict and impose obscene gestures on us and obscenity on us, you're told, well, you just need to toughen up and ignore that and stop being so weak and woke. So when you have a problem with people doing obscene things in your presence, why white supremacists doing obscene things in your presence, why you're weak and woke and you should just be accepting that. But for them, ain't no rules. Not only that, but they celebrate it. Take a look at them as a whole group. Why, they celebrate that. To them, this is masculinity. I don't condone violence, but, okay, when you say I don't condone violence, but you do. So, yeah. And just take a look at the females who are sitting there, cheering that on. Those will be the same ones who won't like it when the white supremacist males start smacking them up. But in any case, there's a reason why these things happen. So to all of you out there, I want you to understand what the rules really are. When people make bad faith arguments, I'm deconstructing this so that you understand, it's not, well, they kind of got you on that one. Well, you're in the wrong because this is different. No, it's not different. No, it's not. They said the rule was if nobody's touching you, well, then if they're doing something obscene, you just need to ignore it and stop being weak and whiny and woke. Okay, then why did you all not just ignore this? Carmelo Anthony sitting under your tent. Well, you should be ignoring him. First of all, he has every right to be there. He's the only person running track there. Austin Metcalf and his brother were not running track. There's football players not even supposed to be there, but okay. So no, if we are not authorized and deputized to challenge white people's civil rights, freedom of movement, constitutional rights, or human rights, we're not authorized to walk up to them and say, I'm offended by what you're saying. I'm offended by what you're doing. And if you don't stop doing it, we're going to make you stop doing it. Well, if we're not deputized to do that, because I want you all to understand what the real point here is. The real point is this is at your discretion. Everyone, the point is, if you're going to deputize people, what you're saying is that this is at their discretion. So what that means is, who gets to define offensive? Well, this guy is on the train naked. Okay, Jordan Neely wasn't. Well, he was threatening people. Define threatening. Because you all have defined threatening as simply standing there. Well, he said he was going to do XYZ. Okay, that's verbal. Did he touch anybody? Because you told Chud the Blunder was running around threatening people, talking about what he was going to do to them. Now, Chud the Blunder sat up here and did the exact same thing, and yet all these white supremacists, none of them said that, of course, you were justified in physically restraining him because he was threatening people. Well, that was exactly what Donald Trump the chump and the rest of the white supremacists were defending Daniel Penny for. Chud the Blunder has been going around recording himself doing the exact same thing, and yet these people are not endorsing restraining him. They're not identifying him as a threat, and unlike Jordan Neely didn't have a weapon of any kind. You got Chud up here running around with a gun, and these folks, oh well, nothing wrong with that. So he's threatening people. He has a gun. We have all kinds of laws. Understand something. It's I'm white and I say so is the law. Remember, how many black people have we witnessed over the last 20, 30 years, certainly since the advent of cell phone video, getting pulled over by police for walking down the street with a gun in, quote, constitutional carry states? As a black person, you don't have a right to concealed carry. Rest in peace, Philando Castile. Remember? As a black person, you don't have a right to either constitutional carry, and even if you go through the paperwork, you don't have a right to concealed carry. Remember, any random white person, police officer or not, can revoke your right to carry a firearm. Why, if they say, I don't believe you have a valid license. I don't believe that's a legal weapon. Well, I got my paperwork right here. I don't think that's valid paperwork. I don't think that's a valid license. Well, who authorized you? I'm white and I say so. I say I don't believe that. Now, you walk up to a random white person and you try to do that and see, number one, if it works, and number two, if the system will back you up and say, well, those people, they were right to be concerned about that. Well, you can never be too sure nowadays, You can never be too sure. A lot of folks running around out here with illegal guns, so you can never be too sure, Are they going to talk to you like that, or are they going to tell you, oh, no, you're infringing on their rights, you can't do that? So I just want to remind you that old Chump Chud was out here threatening people with a firearm. If you did that automatic gun crime, and yet they've done everything they can to avoid charging it like that, because he's committed several firearm felonies. And I'm talking about before he shot someone and tried to murder them. He had already committed several firearm felonies. You're running around threatening people and you have a gun? Oh, that's case closed. He's got tweets where he was speaking about that. The feds are running around with your favorite rappers. They use their lyrics. They use their tweets against them to get them put in prison. And yet this guy was doing that. He didn't have to shoot anybody. He had already committed all his felonies. Now, you wouldn't know that listening to the white supremacist media. They won't cover any of this. They would never say that. But by the way, yeah, he had already committed several felonies, folks. So he went way beyond just being offensive, but even at the part of being offensive, they're not endorsing us taking matters into our own hands when there are violent extremists around us. So Chud was way more than just offensive. He was an illegal domestic terrorist. He was much more than just offensive. And yet they all said that that's freedom of speech no matter what he's doing or what he's saying. None of them were endorsing us doing that. Now, 1090 Cupcakes end of sandwich was sitting up here, and End of Cheesecake, well, he was all for, Wes Watson swinging on people. Okay, well, all of a sudden when this black folk, you can't do that. Yo, I ain't rocking with that. You ain't rocking with me. So I want you all to see how they react and how they respond, because once again, we can talk about this, but I'm giving you all the actual information. I'm giving you all the actual evidence. Well, there's no evidence that white people do what Jordan Neely was doing. Okay, we showed it, and then it's like, hey, where were y'all? The folks who were saying it was okay to kill Jordan Neely, you all are saying, hands off of Chud. The same people who said that it was okay to murder Jordan Neely were the same ones who said, well, for Chud, it's freedom of speech. Well, for the Jordan Neely, it's freedom of speech also. Well, I felt threatened. Well, we feel threatened by Chud the Blunder, too. Well, he was walking away. Excuse me, we already covered that with Rick Chow and a bunch of other people. Simply because you're running away does not mean that you're no longer a threat. Remember, we can shoot you in the back. Simply because you're running away doesn't mean that you are no longer a threat. Simply because I have a weapon and you are unarmed, I feel threatened even though you're unarmed. Kyle Rittenhouse. So even if you are unarmed, Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, even if you are unarmed and I'm the one with the weapon, I'm still threatened by you even though you're unarmed, so I can use lethal force even though you are unarmed. Simply my fear is enough, whether you touch me or whether you don't. My fear is enough. We've already established this, people. This isn't something that's up for argument or debate. We've already established this in court precedent already. The problem will only come up if you try to use it. It'll only be a problem if you try to say, well, hey, look here. Now everybody can chase folk and shoot them in the back now. Since you all have, and remember, they established that way before the Rick Chow thing. The police been shooting folk in the back for decades. Black folk. They've been shooting black folk in the back for decades. That was all perfectly condoned. Now, if you try it, you go chase a 14-year-old white teenager. If you had shot Kyle Rittenhouse in the back, Judge Schrader would be sitting there taking off his Klan robes and telling everybody that we're going to have a lynching right there in the courtroom, is what he would tell them. That's what he would say. He'd say that. You've heard them do that before. I just wanted to let you all know that right there. If that kind of thing occurs, you see what happens. Yeah, if you all chased a 14-year-old white kid, if Kyle Rittenhouse was 14 years old and you chased him for a football field over 100 yards and then shot him in the back, Megyn Kelly would be doing breaking news and doing an impromptu program and talking about how this is uncivilized and unacceptable. That's what you'd be getting. They would never argue that you have the right to chase down white kids. However, these are the same folk who said George Zimmerman can chase down Trayvon Martin with a gun. So you notice they're consistent. When a black person is harmed, they come straight to the defense of it. Doesn't matter the circumstances. Well, however you were harmed, it's permissible, it's defensible, it's never too heinous. Now they've gone to, you can be yelling nigger, nigger, and shoot somebody. Oh, everything's fine. Which, of course, I warned you all was coming. I told you before that it was going to be even more blatant because, of course, that is the goal. The goal is to return to old-fashioned style Jim Crow. That is the goal. That is the point, is to let you know that, by the way, we want to get back to the days when we can just lynch you at will. We want to get back to the days that we can just lynch you at will. So I need you all to understand where they're really going with this. Jason, where are they going with this? They want to go back to antebellum slavery. They want to go back to, you have no rights recognized in any way, shape, form, fashion, or manner. You cannot defend yourself. If a white person wants to walk up and take something from you, let me go a little bit further here because I want you all to understand where this comes from. You notice that these white so-called prank YouTubers and whatnot, you got folk running up, pretending to be purse snatchers, take your keys, doing little stuff and whatnot. Do you understand that? You've already crossed the line. You got whole YouTube channels where they sit up here and do that. You got whole YouTube channels where they do that. That's the issue. Now, how in the world is that permissible? How in the world they keep doing that there, folks? They're infringing on what your rights are. We can snatch your keys. Oh, we messed up your car. Oh, we're coughing on you. That's assault right there. You've already done that. You've already done that. Now, back in the day when they did that kind of stuff, they could just walk up. Oh, you don't have a right to be here. Because, see, they've been trying to push that one for the longest time, that you don't have a right to be here thing. Which is why criminalizing, turning it into a felony to make false allegations. When you turn that into a felony, you're going to see that disappear, although only if it is enforced, which is the issue that we have. The laws are already on the books. The real issue is that the people who have been entrusted with enforcing them, those are the bad guys. So it isn't that we don't have the laws, and it's because you got way more than enough laws. The issue is not, oh, if we can just pass this law. The real thing is that the people entrusted with doing it are the bad guys. They're the bad guys. And that's where we come in. So I want you all to understand something here. These are white folk and suspected white supremacists here boldly saying that if they don't like what they see, I mean, you got folks sitting up here putting up posts and you got millions of views with them endorsing that if they don't like what they see, they're going to take matters in their own hands. And just to remind you that this is just more Carolyn Bryant. You have a bunch of Carolyn Bryants in these comment sections. Females endorsing that. What they won't do is endorse your right to do it to them. Now, they're not endorsing that. They're not endorsing your right to grab them. You don't have a right to do that to them. See, there's the part we're waiting on is when do they tell us that we're deputized to do that? Oh, you're never going to get the green light for that. So that's why I'm telling you, we don't ask for green lights. Your safety and your protection and your survival are not up for a vote. It's not up for an act of Congress. It's not a debate. It's not a negotiation. Do you understand that? Your right to survival is not up for a vote. It is not a negotiation. It is not a debate. You don't have to bring sufficient evidence. You don't have to justify it, and you don't have to qualify it. I'm only showing these examples here to let the white supremacist society know that, by the way, it will not be rules for thee and none for me. Oh, no, it will not be. Whatever you are doing, that is what you are authorizing us to do. You are authorizing us to do that. When you start doing this kind of stuff, you take these liberties, you sit up here and deputize yourself. Well, guess what? Now everybody got a badge and a star. Everybody's got one now. See, what they're really afraid of is that becoming a mass thing where it is accepted as the group, because you see, what tends to happen is folk get coonified. And when they get coonified, you start seeing folks looking a certain way, and then they start talking about the love of Jesus or something. Anything and everything except fighting fire with fire. That's what the response they're looking for, is for you to respond like that. When you stop responding by asking their permission to take matters into your hands, well, when you stop responding with that, they'll get more active. When that becomes just the way you do things. See, that's what scared them about Chud the Blunder. They thought they were going to shame people into letting him infringe on their civil rights. That's what they thought they were going to do. See, here's the problem. You think you're going to sit up here on the internet. You're not going to win the race war on the internet, Matt Walsh. You're pathetic to begin with, but you're not going to. You can make all the documentaries you want to. You can make all the Twitter posts you want to. Dude, out here on the street, you're losing. You're losing. You guys can sit there safe because you'll sit up here and endorse and try to buck up a bunch of crash outs. You're not going to do a damn thing yourself. So you can keep cheerleading that if you want to, but out here on the street, you're losing. You're losing. Which is what they're so damn worried about, because a decade ago, you were seeing black folk get murdered with impunity. A decade later, you got Carmelo Anthony and Chud the Blunder sitting behind bars looking at a couple of decades. See, that's a paradigm shift from where you were. You got videos all over the place. First, they was yelling nigger and folks, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's not a good thing. Now they're up in folks' faces yelling nigger and they going viral. Folks are taking matters into their own hands and fists and feet, and you're going viral. And Matt Walsh, yeah, you shouldn't get so triggered. Matt Walsh sitting up here peeping out the windows before he wakes up in the morning. Yeah, he talks that garbage, but while he's sitting hidden away somewhere, he's not sitting on a street corner trying to promote that. Neither is End of Cheesecake. He's not 1090 Jake into Cheesecake. He's not sitting up there on the street corner promoting that. They're sitting hidden out somewhere and talking noise through an iPhone. But what they're not doing is hitting the street corner and proving that this is a real thing. Now, that's what they're not doing. Yeah, you think you're going to talk garbage and talk silly and go viral. It's like, oh, don't worry, you get some help with that. You'll get some assistance with that. So they're going to do it where they're safe and hidden, but don't fool yourselves into believing that they really believe this stuff. No, not at all. So that's pushing back against the tide. It's like, oh, no. Civility will be enforced. Civility will be enforced. If you are running around calling folks nigger, that is a threat. You calling folks nigger is a threat. And once you make a threat, as you justify with Jordan Neely. Well, Jordan Neely was threatening. You calling us nigger is threatening. It's not offensive. Folks, don't let anybody sit up here and get you to chase a false argument. I'm not saying that calling folks nigger is offensive. That's not my argument. My argument is that's a threat. Coming from you, that's a threat, and there is historical and current context and justification for it. So no, if you call me a nigger, I have to take action. It's incumbent on me to take action because you are verbalizing a threat. So once you threaten me, now I have to take steps to neutralize the threat. Remember, Daniel Penny. Well, he felt threatened. Hey, Chud the Blunder, I feel threatened. I feel threatened by you. No, your word is not offensive. You're threatening. And remember, Rick Chow, I can chase you for an entire football field and shoot you in the back. That's how threatened I am. I'm so threatened that if you put sufficient distance between us, if I let you get too far away, I feel scared that you're going to get too far away. So we have to prevent you from getting too far away. Otherwise, we're threatened. So when you start threatening, you are the weapon. And if you are a threat, we have to neutralize the threat. We can't just let threats run around out here like that. It's like, no, once you show that you are a threat, we are justified in taking any action, including lethal force, to neutralize the threat. Daniel Penny set that precedent. Actually, they set the precedent way before then, but Daniel Penny has reminded us that that is the law of the land. If we are threatened, well, we're threatened. If our kids are at a track meet and you threaten them, they are under no obligation to ignore the threat. I want you all to be clear here. None of them are arguing that they don't have the right to threaten you. Did you notice that? None of these white supremacists and their white supremacist YouTube clowns, none of them are arguing that they don't have a right to threaten you. Did you notice that? None of them are arguing they don't have a right to threaten you. They're all arguing, well, you should just ignore that. So if you're black, you should just ignore being threatened. If you're white, however, you can handle it however you want to, and the system will back you up. It's like, okay. When you start showing them that you don't care what they think the system is supposed to do or whatever, that's what changes things. Please remember, the so-called civil rights era was blazed by a bunch of folk who said, we don't give a damn about, they called it civil disobedience. And then you had others who they called militant. It's like, we don't give a damn what Bull Connor got to say. We don't give a damn what Bull Connor has to say. Bull Connor is not going to define our rights or our right to survive. That's not going to happen. What they are afraid of is that that's going to catch on. Please remember January 6th. They didn't give a damn about the U.S. government, an election, and nothing else. We're taking matters into our own hands. Well, they love hearing that right up until you start taking matters into your own hands. Then the very same people who just told you about taking matters into your own hands, those become the people condemning you. Isn't that amazing? Alex Jones was the biggest anti-government person you could find right up until George Floyd, and we took to the streets and shut the whole damn nation down. Then Alex Jones showed his true colors, which he had been leaking the whole time, and all of a sudden he loved the government. All of a sudden, that's what he became. So that's not accidental. I wanted to let you know that they are expressing their fears, and when they express their fears about these things, this is what they really believe. And when they start talking about rules, what they really mean is that they're hoping that you will self-police. And self-police is that they brutalize you and you don't respond. That your response to their brutality is to just keep your head down and, okay, well, hope they don't hurt me too bad. But the idea that we'll sit here and say, no, as a matter of fact, no, we're not good with that. No, as a matter of fact, no, we're closing ranks on this. When that becomes the norm, it's like, okay. And when it's not whispered. After Rodney King, it wasn't whispered. After O.J. Simpson, it wasn't whispered. After Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin, it wasn't whispered. After George Floyd, it wasn't whispered. When it stops being whispered and you let them know it's on Front Street, yeah, that's when things start to change and become different. There is an effort on to convince you and to get you to keep yourself a coward and get you to knuckle yourself under and to redefine everything and tell you there are no crimes that can be committed against you. And all of this is in service to a white population. Because if you feel like you don't have the numbers anymore, and I taught you all this years ago, I told you that they are trying to move into place a South Africa strategy. And by the way, who better to implement a South Africa strategy than a South African Afrikaner? Damn. It should be no surprise to anyone. I've been telling you about Elon Musk now for over a decade. It should be no surprise to anyone that when I told you going on 2 decades ago that as the white population falls, look for the white supremacists to reassert themselves and say, we want to take over public policy, and that the policy is to institute a South Africa strategy where you have a minority white population with majority socioeconomic and political and military control. Never forget that. Well, who better to guide instituting that than a white supremacist Afrikaner? Enter Elon Musk, who was empowered by not just Republicans, but Democrats. The Democrats empowered Elon Musk too. Remember that? Elon Musk's white supremacy and racism is not new. It was there the whole damn time. It's not new. And yet Gavin Newsom and others sat there enabling him the whole time because they are all white supremacists. What they try to do from time to time is make some gesture that's supposed to make them seem less racist, Bruce's Beach. But, okay, so for Bruce's Beach, you gave one black family $20 million and you gave Elon Musk $200 billion. What? So the black family, you give one black family $20 million to be split among them. But Elon Musk, y'all make sure he gets $200 billion. There's a reason for that. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and pin the link to the Zoom there in the chat room for you. So you can go ahead and give us a call about that. I can already see there's some folks who don't like some of the things they've heard. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. We can accept that too. Not an issue. But I'm just giving you a warning, heads up here right now, what you're looking at and the machinations that they're using and the tactics that they're employing there. And I don't want you to get bogged down in the silly, idiotic discussions about it. They are not stupid. They are not fooled. They know exactly what they're doing. Don't you be fooled by it. And when they make their bad arguments, I've already given you all everything you need to say to debunk those. You saw me do that last night. It's not a mystery. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out to Keenan. Thank you very much for your support tonight here, Keenan. Big shout out here to Karen as well. Thank you very much for your support here, sister. We appreciate that. As always, to G Mars, my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for your support here as well. To Josiah Starr, Fat Boy Fish, Tom Slick, Mike, Cameron, and everybody else here. Thank you very much for your support here tonight. We're going to take a very brief non-commercial break. When we come back, we'll see about probably taking some of y'all's calls and a couple of other things I want to touch on here as well. Hang on tight for that. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the gains. Used to be the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. On top of these other things, I want to remind you all that they are keeping track of these things. Numbers are very important. Measuring things are very important. Staying on top of metrics is very important. Seeing what the society is thinking is very important. And their ability to destroy you with their words, their ability to talk you into powerlessness, that is paramount. Case in point, a brief reminder here in case you all were unaware. This is a thing. What? Michael is now Lionsgate's highest grossing film of all time with $898 million worldwide.
Damn!
See, when you're able to do something like this and you didn't have to have it given to you, white supremacy is about unearned benefits, unearned rewards, unearned generational wealth. Didn't earn a damn thing. Elon Musk did not create Tesla. He didn't create any of this stuff. when you're able to do stuff like this and you actually got the goods and you actually built it and you actually have the ability and the talent, it's like, okay, now we want to make you think there's something wrong with you. We want to make you think there's something wrong with you. I want to remind you that when they see those kind of numbers long after somebody is dead, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, no, no. See, they're supposed to be able to derail you and depower you with a word. They're supposed to be able to say, we don't like this person over here, and they're done. The money's supposed to dry up. The prestige supposed to dry up. Everything's supposed to disappear because we're white and we say so. You're not supposed to have anything after we say you're done. We say you're done and you're supposed to be through. And even without a system behind us to simply plow us with unearned benefits, that's what's going on. This is the kind of thing that's still happening. So, of course, he's worried and scared. Elon never earned anything, which is what the system is set up for. They talk about DEI and what they're losing. Show us where they're losing anything. They still got 95% of all the damn wealth, and they're claiming that something's wrong. Now, how is it that you're only 2/3 of the population but got 95% of the wealth? Okay, mathematically, that doesn't make sense. Not unless you've stolen it. And then they tell you, wait, anything that stops that, all the rest of you are illegitimate. What the hell are you doing over here? Well, I stole it fair and square. Let's go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if I can get Superpower Media up here on Zoom for us here. All right, Superpower Media, what's on your mind?
I think we're living in the times, Jason, where black people are going to have to stop playing games, and they got to start talking to their families about protecting themselves. Because I'm always on my kids about that, and like like here in Texas, the area I live in, McKinney, I'm right up the street from where the trial is happening, and I tell black people that you must protect yourselves. It's not even an option. Don't worry about these unjust rules that they got set out for us, because I live by a kamikaze rule. And if you don't know what that means, look it up. If it goes bad, it's going to go bad for real on my side, because I don't think we should be out here taking anything from anyone. I mean, like you said, when they chased that kid down, man, and shot him in his back, and then the son lied and said, "Oh, he pointed a gun at me." But how you get shot in the back if you pointing a gun at somebody? And they get these all white jurors, and I live in this area, Jason. I'm always called to court maybe twice, two or three times a year. It's a lot of black people in this area, so it don't make any sense that you have an all white jury right here in McKinney. That's right here in McKinney, Texas, Collin County area. There's so many black folks out here, man. It doesn't even make sense for it to be an all white. So when that happened, I knew that the fix was in from the start. But I don't want black people to get discouraged, man. Protect your family at all costs. To me, it don't matter. I don't care about this unjust system, because if I had to go down, I'm taking a lot of them with me. So black people, don't be afraid, man. And that's what they want us to be afraid to protect our families, man. But old bullshit, it's not going to happen on my watch.
Well, those areas expanded really quickly over the last 30 years, which is the whole point. Yeah. And just like the old system there, the resources and stuff go to the suburbs. They build out new suburbs and then put schools in the middle of them there. And then the old schools in the so-called inner city, that's where your kids are supposed to be segregated at. Eventually, over time, black folks start spreading out in those areas. So they start getting there and whatnot. So if your economic barriers are no longer sufficient to keep them out, well, now you got to resort to good old-fashioned terrorism. Now you have to resort to that because the economic barriers are no longer sufficient. And right now in this day and age, that's really not the case. The economic barriers, if folks are willing to go into enough debt for it, and I myself wouldn't do it, but there's enough folk out there doing that. The real thing is, if you are going to go into these areas, what you just said is paramount and key. Don't go into these areas assuming you've escaped something. If you're going there, you need to understand, I don't care how much, quote, nicer the house is. You're talking about nicer the neighborhood. Okay, you can call that if you want to. You're surrounded. So once again, it's never good to see it. It's never good to see it. However, on the other hand, I say again, and I will not apologize for it, we need things like this. We need things like the Rick Chow situation. We need things like the Austin Metcalf situation. We need that to keep so black folk are not allowed to go back to sleep again. These are things that are so blatant, so egregious, so over the top that you can't ignore it. You can't claim that it's a new day and things are different. And you can't claim that it's just isolated to one place. That's another game folks like to play. Oh, that's them over there. We don't have that problem in New York. We don't have that problem in Maine. We don't have that problem in California. No, it's everywhere. And when it becomes this blatant and they get this over the top with it, it's like, yeah, now you can't pretend you didn't see it, and you can't pretend it's not right outside your door. Because everybody understands there was nothing wrong here in that case. That can happen to anybody anywhere. That can happen to anyone anywhere. That was a nice, Frisco is not some crime-ridden area like that. All the stuff that you sit up here and stereotype and whatnot. Okay, we're away from that. As long as we mind our business and keep our heads down, we'll be good. Folk don't care about race. It's okay. And then you wake up one day and there you are. And it's not about waking up one day. It's like, okay, now you don't get to pretend and lie anymore. So as unfortunate as it is, the Chud the Blunders and that Robert Moore guy and Rick Chow and Austin Metcalf, yeah, we need a steady stream of this happening so that people are not allowed to go back to sleep again. You won't be allowed to ignore it. You won't be allowed to pretend. You won't be allowed to be in denial. Every day you get up, it's like, yep, you can get it. You can get it and it can find you anywhere you are. So on the one hand, you hate to see that, but on the other hand, unfortunately, it's necessary. I'll let you have the last word.
And also, Jason, that wasn't his first time shooting anybody. That Rick Chow, they be giving this guy the green light to shoot people. Shot a man in his leg, shot a woman, shot a car up. This guy how many chances did the guy get?
Yeah, brother, you could never do nothing like that. As a black male, you could never sit up here and the first time you shoot a gun, that's going to be the last time you have a gun because immediate felony. They don't give a damn what it was. You're going to get railroaded through, and that's going to be the end of that. The Innocence Project would not exist today. And the Innocence Project is just folk who got incarcerated. How many black folk are out there got felonies simply because they couldn't afford an attorney to fight it? So if you as a black male, you pull that trigger, oh, that's it, instant felony. The circumstances and conditions don't give a damn. The DA says you was wrong, and the judge is there to rubber stamp it. And that's the end of that. So you don't get 3 or 4 times to have a, quote, incident with a gun. You don't get that. You get one time, and that's going to be the end of it.
Be what, Jason?
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. You don't get 5 or 6 times to do that. You first time you let a gun go off, okay, here, hold this felony. Unless, of course, it's gang related. Now, when it's gang related, that's different. It's like, oh, okay, you're one of our gang minions. You're one of our gang operatives. Okay, well, we want to make sure you get back out on the streets and wink, wink, control that population and those, real estate values. So, yeah, we want to make sure that we keep that down. All right, let's go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again. Okay, on Zoom, iPhone, what's your name?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Produce Justice.
All right, Produce Justice. What's on your mind?
Well, I just want to say, by reading this great book by Dr. Welsing, we have to start understanding something here. We do not understand what we're looking at. We do not understand the power system and culture that we are under. We're not teaching our kids about this. hell, most of our younger people are just kind of out there in the open, unprotected, off code. And you have parents out there who just don't really give a good shit until something like this happens with our young black males that are 14 years old. And now it's too late, because now they've been running around here with no guidance, no code, no understanding of the global system culture of white supremacy racism.
Yeah, I mean, this is the result of that. You know, you can't ignore your way out of these things. You live in a society that wants to lull you back to sleep. They sit up here and flood you and saturate you with a never-ending fire hose of distractions if you want to be distracted. You want to dance, you want to sing, you want to coon, you want to turn up, all these things. Oh, don't worry about it. Turn it down. And then now you're under a system of mass surveillance, mass incarceration, mass deprivation. And then that becomes the new, quote, norm. And then anytime they want to, you're sitting up here thinking you're going to come up and climb up. And anytime you try to do that, it's like, oh, there's a system right there at any time waiting to go ahead and grab that.
Yes. And what I'm noticing, even with the young man that got killed in South Carolina, I didn't even know this occurred. But when people said, when a coworker brought it to my attention, I said, well, just two prisoners killing each other. The only difference is one prisoner is a model prisoner and the other prisoner is not. And the fact that you had a black male who has a lack of black self and group respect that got up on television and said, well, I got to pay my bills. No, bruh. You can pay your bills anytime, but this is a code thing. And for 5 black members of that jury to not stand on code, that it lets you further know that black people, is sad to say, and I think I called up here a few weeks ago and I was talking about the congressional representation. The reality is that there's a segment of black people who don't really give a shit about the black collective, not even caring about one another, not looking out for each other, not holding each other to account, or not holding each other on code. It's everything is a fucking free-for-all. Everything is a free-for-all. And now we're talking about we want to get justice here. We're not going to get justice out of a white-dominated power system. The enemy is on the bench. The enemy's in the booth. The enemy is all over the place. How do you get justice when you're in it, when you're surrounded but behind enemy lines?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have discipline when there's not enforcement.
True.
And that starts at the neighborhood level and then goes to the city level, then goes statewide, and then goes beyond that. Because if you can only have power to the extent that you can enforce your rules. And if people are allowed to be off code and there are no power brokers, and I've talked about this now going on over 22 decades, but when you don't have power brokers to enforce those rules, this is what happens. So this is why, the number one priority is to make sure we don't have socioeconomic stability, much less socioeconomic, affluence. Because once you got the ability to do that, you can start making rules. Having somebody like a Jay-Z is worthless because Jay-Z is only looking out for let me go ahead and go into what you're talking about, the jury. And by the way, let me go ahead and talk about Jay-Z. There's a reason for that. I'm going to say this right now tonight. This is going to upset a lot of folks here, but damn you.
And deal with it, nigga.
When you got somebody like Jay-Z, Leor Cohen did not choose him for nothing. He chose him for a reason.
Because he can control, like Dr.
Okay, but no. It's a brain type, brother. It's a brain type.
Like pig.
Okay, brother. It's a brain type. No, it's a brain type. It's a brain type. Jason, What do you mean? Take a look at Jay-Z's mom.
I've never seen her.
Okay, that's all right. All you need to know is LGBT.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Now, has Jay-Z made that Basquiat movie yet?
I never heard of it.
Okay. In the chat room, you all can tell me if Jay-Z has made that Basquiat movie yet. You all can tell me if he has or not. Has Jay-Z made that Basquiat movie yet? Basquiat, the gay painter. I'm not calling him gay painter. That's what they always say about him. Jay-Z wants to play it because he's a gay painter. Has he made that Basquiat movie? Oh, he hasn't made it yet. Okay. So everybody else wants to be an action hero. Everybody else wants to play a lawyer. Everybody else wants to play, a Denzel Washington role. Jay-Z wants to be Basquiat. I'm like, okay.
What black man of his stature? Well, actually,
Okay, but what I'm saying is that this is the person they selected. So keep that in mind. They selected him because they already knew what the deal was. They already knew what the priorities were. They already knew what the agenda was. So when you think about that, that makes more sense to you. So they know what they're looking for there. And when you have this effeminate thing to it, they know that. So they're looking to see what your agenda really is. If you had a pro-black agenda, it's like, okay, sit down, please. Sit down. But if you don't, they know who they're promoting, brother. You don't get promoted for nothing. You don't get promoted for nothing. You don't get chosen for nothing. You don't get elevated for nothing. They got the whole damn file on you. And when you take a look at these juries, that's a microcosm of it. That's a microcosm.
I mean, well, for Jay-Z, it's no wonder why he's the last one standing of the 90s. Why was he picked out of a lineup? Well, because he can go out there and push the anti-black, pro-niggerized agenda. Except for in this case, he's not doing that anymore. He's now telling us, hey, we're past kneeling, like as if he came up with the idea.
Okay. Now, brother, I want to do this while I'm on the phone with you right now. In the chat room, there's a reason why I want everybody to understand something. There's a reason why a lot of folk are stupid. And in the chat room, I'm going to do this right now because I'm going to make a public example. To every clown in the chat room talking about Basquiat was not gay, you literally can go to Google right now and type in Basquiat LGBT. So if you want to know how stupid, brother, if you want to know why we can't get certain things together, because the general population is usually made up. These better be bots saying that, although they weren't. Of folks saying it with conviction. Well, he dated Madonna. You can literally go to Google, and the first things you're going to come up with are Central London LGBT. That's the first things that will come up. Not the last, the first. The first things that will come up are all LGBT, and yet, boy, they're sitting there. This is what happens when Gen Alpha and Gen Z has to actually do some strategic critical thinking. They're sitting there with conviction. He wasn't gay. He wasn't gay. So all I can imagine is some of y'all was sitting up here sniffing some men. What? I just imagine some of you were in denial of your own sexuality, I guess. I guess.
Well, they've been feminized. Let's keep it honest here. Black males have been feminized as a way to protect themselves from white aggression. I mean, hell, it's what Little Richard had to do back in the day. He even admitted it. I had to act like I was a sissy or a faggot, excuse my language, in order to not be seen as a threat to white people. And that's sort of like a survival tactic for some people that in black society. And, you're talking about this generation. I mean, I talked to Mr. Fuller before he passed away. And I remember telling his co-host, Mr. Bobby, I said, when Mr. Fuller, God bless his soul, left, I said, man, look, we're in serious trouble as a people because you got these younger people, Generation Alpha, Generation Z, Generation whatever, alphabet next. They're coming from parents that were millennials and some of them Generation Xers. And what the hell did their parents teach them? What have they been training them to do? Nothing. And so I fear for this. I fear for us. I fear for us strongly. And I can see why now that these old, you call them old niggas, why do you think the old niggas are still in charge? Because they know nobody stepping up to do nothing because this generation, they'll fuck around and lose everything for us.
Well, I disagree with that to an extent because remember, since Trayvon Martin, it's been the young folk in the streets. It wasn't the old niggas. The old niggas are sitting there in the pulpit talking about, y'all young folk, get out there and don't be doing that there. But I do want to highlight to them that they're in a more vulnerable position because the old folks grabbed all the wealth, squandered it, smoked it up in the crack era, and did all the other buffoonery and baboonery. And so these young folk, while they are more resistant, they got more access to more information than ever, and still talking stupid stuff like Basquiat wasn't gay.
Nigga, what?
So, but they can't afford to be stupid and can't afford to play around because the consequences for them are much more acute. The environment is far more hostile, and the enemy's at the gate, which is why I have to endorse, a more hostile environment so that you have to choose survival. So even if you're a moron, survival is genetic. So you can be stupid, but in a hostile environment, you're going to be forced to choose survival at some point. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, let me go ahead and do this right quick. KJ Camp 43. Basquiat was not gay, though. He dated multiple women, including Madonna. I'm putting you on Front Street. If you're going to say stupid stuff with such conviction, I just want to make sure that folks know that. DeLon, Basquiat wasn't gay. Oh, okay, all right. Oh, he dated Madonna? Never mind. No, it wasn't for dating Madonna. That wasn't what did that. So, no. Some of these fellas in here like to shave their legs, and they're getting a little sensitive when I say that. All right. Literally. AJ Judah, Basquiat used to date Madonna. Okay. All right. No, I'm going back over names here. No. It's like, well, Jay, no, I'm on Front Street. No. Next time this is what it needs to be. When folks say stupid things, with Google sitting right there in front of them, why would you say something that's so blatantly wrong? If you ever heard anything about him, the first thing you heard was LG. He wasn't gay, though. Okay, all I can imagine is some of y'all are sitting in the closet or whatever the case may be. Don't say that. Why would you say that? You're talking about Jay-Z. Jay-Z would never play. Jay-Z would never go for that, Jason. You wrong. Jay-Z wouldn't do that. Okay. Hurting feelings there. One Google search away. All they had to do was a Google search, and they volunteered themselves. I am the authority on Das Basquiat. He was not gay. First thing you do, you go to Google, and first thing that comes up, and nothing but LGBT organizations. That's the whole reason that they talk about him today, is because the LGBT organizations and stuff have been promoting his name for all this damn time. He wasn't gay. Then what you're really saying is that you're too lazy to actually read anything. And you were trying to guess your way through it. You thought you were going to guess and bull jive your way through it. But what you're really saying is that you're just kind of either too stupid or too lazy to read. So you don't know things. You just feel things. And you all don't correct each other. When you say dumb things, you don't stop each other and correct each other and say, here's the documentation. Unlike Bushmeat Barrister, Buck Dancing Barrister, I didn't give you my opinion. I'm citing my sources. You can go to Google right now, type in Basquiat and LGBT, and there it goes. How the hell did you not know that? That's the only aspect of his life anybody talks about. How the hell did you end up 180 degrees diametrically in the other direction? And you think you're smart enough to speak on these things. That's the crazy part. You think you're bright enough to speak on this. Yes, I want to make sure you're so damn shamed you don't ever open your mouth again unless you actually got a piece of paper in front of you showing that you proved that. So, yeah. So, if you're butthurt because I linked Jay-Z to that, which I think is your real issue. Why are you telling Jay-Z? Drake can't handle Jay-Z. Okay. Yeah. So just understand, when you've got brain dead folk like that, imagine, I hope there's no female sitting out there with these guys trying to lead. Basic information and they're devoid of it. The condensed history of mankind at your fingertips on Google, and they couldn't even bother to look at that before they said something. One of the most notorious LGBT artists in history that they've been on a nonstop promotion about. They've been promoting Basquiat as gay now for 20 years, and I'll be damned. I don't listen to television. I don't listen to radio. I don't read things. I don't find out things. I don't think Basquiat's gay. Basquiat, they didn't say they didn't think he was. He isn't gay. Okay. He wasn't gay? Okay. All right. All right, I just wanted to make sure we did that. So make sure we're going to have to sit up here and do some checking. We got to go ahead and check stupid. You see, we don't win when people have bad information, and there's no excuse for that. There was no excuse whatsoever to regurgitate stupid things that are completely wrong in an era where we can't afford that. I spent the entire first hour with everything documented. There's a reason that white supremacists back the hell up off of me. Well, yeah, because I'm not going to say stupid things like that. So when I talk about Jay-Z and why he was selected, I can connect the dots from the NFL to the Super Bowl to Basquiat to Beyonce to Jay-Z's mom. And when you take a look at Jay-Z on paper, when you talk about Jay-Z on paper, when you look at his history, and when you interview him and talk to him, ain't nothing black going on there. There's nothing black about Jay-Z. Kendrick Lamar needs to make a song about him. If you're going to talk about Not Like Us, you need to talk about Jay-Z. They didn't select him because they didn't know what they had. Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z, Kevin Hart. Folks, these people don't get selected to be elevated for nothing. They know what they're getting. They wouldn't have called you and wouldn't have elevated you if they didn't. They selected you because they know he has no connections to this. He's got no connections, no backup, and he has no desire to be a part of it. Okay, well, guess what? They also know how to do the same thing on your juries. They know the same thing on the juries. When they find their Afro-Latinas, when they find their Blasians, when they find their off-code immigrant folk, they know what they're looking for. They can run the paperwork real quick. They don't end up grabbing these people by accident. This is a system. You talk about a system of surveillance. It don't take them long to go ahead and connect the dots and find out what you about. They make sure they select for it. They know what they're looking for. Okay, let me check that last name. Let me check that last name right quick. Okay, Cindy Gomez. All right, let me go ahead and check that last name. Okay. Nicole Gonzalez. Oh, take a look over there. They know what they're checking for, man. They wouldn't be able to have this consistency of outcome if they didn't. And that's why when other things happen, I kind of look at it sideways when other things happen, because there's folks out there, stories like this, China's Coast Guard harassing the Filipinos. And I'm just like, okay, are they calling us for backup here? Please be aware. In case you all want to know what's going on, everything's not okay on the home front. It isn't. Folks are getting bossed up on. So it's like, okay. And then they come over here. You want to talk about bullying? All right. Well, yeah, we can have a discussion about that too, if you'd like to. There's a little discussion we'd like to have about that. We can have a little discussion about that if you'd like to. By the way, China's got big Coast Guard ships, so if anybody thought they had little dinghies out there, it's like, oh no, they got their whole naval game together. They got their whole naval game together, but then folks will come over here and gang up on us. Folks will come over here and then try to gang up on us and emulate white supremacy. Meanwhile, when they get in trouble, it's like, hey, wait a minute now. They not like us back over in the home country. It's like, okay. Okay. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again right quick. Let me see if I can get Huey Freeman up here on Zoom for me here. All right, Huey, what's on your mind?
Hey, brother Jason, wonderful broadcast as usual. I just want to ask you a question. I don't know if you heard about, those Chinese create the little black toy baby, and they were just smashing it on the ground and doing all types of obscenity to that toy representing a black baby. Hello?
All right, folks. If you get a chance to be on the phone, please make sure you get to your point. Don't play 20 questions. Time is valuable. So if you get an opportunity to log in and you get put on, you're on the stage, use your time efficiently. I'm going to have to start cracking down on dead air. You have an opportunity to speak. I suggest you use it preciously. Let's jump back over here on Zoom again. We got Motorola up here on Zoom for me here. We got Motorola. Let's see if we can get Motorola up here. There you go. All right, Motorola. Oh, I hope this ain't about to be an OnlyFans moment. Oh, Motorola. Okay, unmute yourself, baby. Unmute yourself, y'all. Oh, she got the spaghetti straps on and everything. I'm like, oh, she's about to put on a show for a nigga. Unmute yourself, baby. You unmute yourself. Okay, when we tell women to talk, they don't want to speak. And when we say be quiet, they won't shut up. It's just, boy, it's hell be the black man sometimes. Lower left-hand corner, microphone. Microphone is in the lower left-hand corner. Tap it one time and it'll unmute you. Okay, baby, you got to press it with your finger, not your nails. Try again. You're still muted. Press it again. Oh, she's like, she don't recognize it. Try again. I'm going to have some leniency here since she's obviously thirst trapping.
Okay, can you
there
hear me
you
now?
go. Okay, I gave you a thirst trap pass. I gave you a thirst trap pass. Ordinarily, I would have cut you, but I'm like, oh, wait a minute. She tried to put on a show for a fella, so let me give her a minute to hear what her pitch is. Might have a side chick application available. What? All right, what's on your mind, ma'am? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Well, first name. What's your name?
My name is Kathy.
All right, Kathy. What's on your mind?
And I live in Ohio. I just wanted to make a comment. I wanted to say that it is really time for us as a people to start fighting back physically and spiritually. It is really time for us to stop shopping at these places that despise us. And we could really, really put them out of business. But it's up to us. We need to keep our own monies, our own revenues, instead of giving them, monies to make themselves rich. And I just want to say, I read an article about in Jamaica. The Chinese people built a hotel, and they decided that they were not going to allow those Jamaicans to come there, and they burnt that down. And I'm wondering, how come we don't smell smoke at the address where Mr. Chow or whatever his name is?
Well, the first reason is the police are surrounding it. That's the first thing. So as soon as that happened, they put like 30, 40 cops outside the place, which is very, very interesting because, by the way, you have available police forces for that, and then you're going to tell us about what you can't do for community protection. So, but if you want the short answer, they had the police sitting there the whole damn time.
And no more kumbaya for any other race of people. No more, I'm sorry. No more, I forgive you. Nothing. We are sick and tired of this. And it almost, people almost want to get to the point where we become vigilantes. And I know they don't want that. So,
well, here's the thing. I mean, I want black folk to be vigilant. But I want us to be vigilant, first of all, on the code aspect of it, because money doesn't matter if you got a bunch of off-code people. That's the first thing. Money only empowers on-code people. So it starts with everybody being on code to begin with. The next thing is socioeconomically. It is a shame and a disgrace. It absolutely is, especially in a lot of these places like this. And I understand that the government's got their fingers on the scales. I understand that. I understand and I know that, but by the same token, If these are going to be your places, they have to be your places. And you have to have the ability to enforce a code for folks who are off code. That everybody doing their own thing, that can't be allowed. I have to remind you about New York City and the 5 points. The 5 points is basically the story of America. So when you get to the Irish and then the Italians and then black folk there, when the Italians moved in, you take a look at that first Godfather movie. There was cats out there. They were street cats. Everything was illegal, so on and so forth. But there was one or two dudes who had enough strength and enough muscle. We run this block. We run this neighborhood. But he wasn't just on some, let me buy some shoes and some liquor. He's like, okay, we're going to buy some shoes and some liquor. We also going to buy a couple of judges. We're going to get a couple of politicians over here. So they structured a society in that regard. That's the element that's missing. We are going to be easy prey and easy pickings as long as we don't have that. Now, I don't know who the Tony Soprano needs to be in the situation for that, but that's the mindset that it's got to be. Without that, you don't have a defense mechanism because there's no one leading the defense or even defining what defense is. If everybody's able to be a renegade, then you don't have a cohesive whole to even defend. That's the part that's missing. So, and the last aspect of it goes back to the first one. You're supposed to feel funny when you ain't dealing with your people. We are the only folk who've been conditioned to be comfortable around other folk. Other folk are not comfortable if they're not around their people. We've been conditioned to be comfortable around everybody. And the problem is, and to have animosity amongst ourselves. And the problem is that, everybody's not comfortable around us. They see us as a resource to be exploited, not even used, exploited. So part of the code is not being comfortable with everybody and prioritizing being comfortable with yourselves. That's a major, major aspect of it right there by itself. But without that, baby, you're not going to get any further.
Let me say just one more thing. It makes me so angry when things like this happen and you don't hear one word from any politician, any so-called black group. They don't say anything. These entertainers don't say anything. I'm done with them. I'm done with these political people. They mean us no good. And I hope people stop voting. What are we voting for? We've been voting for years and years and years and nothing has changed. I really, really hope we as a people start getting understanding that this country means us no good.
Whether it's Jimbo Jangles, Clyburn, whether it's Jimbo Jangles, or whether it's Bakari Sellers or whatever, you're absolutely right about that. And that's why I've been talking about this forever about that, but those are the very people that they're kissing ass to. Please take a look at Letitia James in New York. Walk right by the black folks. She's here for the Asians. Kamala Harris, Jimbo Jangles. So as I said, the reason you can't go to them is because they're with the enemy. They are the enemy. The Jimbo Jangles and whatnot, your black political class, they're owned by the white Democrat structure, and they are not working with the enemy. They are the enemy. So as far as they're concerned, 2 thumbs up for Rick Chow walking in the room. And your kids are just, collateral damage. They're just acceptable losses. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Let me go ahead. Look, this is where they at, folks. You're going to get the Democrat Party to say something. Folks, we couldn't get them to say anything about Peter Liang, remember? The Democrats did not support us against Peter Liang. The Democrats sat back quiet as hell. The civil rights generation, quiet as hell. You don't want us to go down this list. They've been quiet. They didn't just start clamming up yesterday. Remember, we were the only ones making noise about Peter Liang. We were the only ones sounding the alarm about Peter Liang. The Democrats wasn't doing that. They didn't say nothing then. They're not saying anything now. So they have been very consistent. And remember that the Asian community is part of their strategy to neutralize us. Illegal alien Latinos on one hand, Asians on the other. You're in California, here come the Filipinos. You're in New York, here come the Chinese and Koreans. You're in the Gulf states, here come the Vietnamese. So no, this is part of their strategy. It's not accidental. You didn't just wake up one morning and there they are. No. This is a strategy. And notice where they're putting them. They're putting them in these places. They're giving them finance. They're giving them access to the country, giving them financing, putting them in there, making real estate deals for them, and making sure they got that. Houston, Texas, Chinese all over the place. Great big old huge Chinatown there. That's not accidental. It's part of the plan. It's been going on for decades. So all of this being comfortable with everybody else, and we're all going to join hands and be a minority coalition. It's like, okay, the other folks kicked you out the damn coalition before you could have one. Let's go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again. Let me see if I can get, okay, I think I got Anna up here. Let me see if I can get Anna up here on Zoom for me here right quick. There you go. Anna, unmute yourself. Microphone, lower left-hand corner, Anna. Microphone, lower left-hand corner, Anna. These women caught up with these pterodactyl nails and can't work their screens and can't figure out how it goes. That's why y'all need a man around. What? All these single ladies trying to work these cell phone apps by themselves. This is what's happening. They're calling me up with their bonnets on. They fresh out the shower and stuff, and their hands slipping and sliding. Okay, turn off your speakers, Anna. Turn off your speakers, Anna. Anna, you are killing me.
I'm sorry.
Turn off your YouTube, ma'am. Just listen through it. Let's just listen on Zoom. Me? There you go. All right, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I was just calling. And I went a little dark because, I got multiple phones and stuff going on. And
she got sorry two about that. Phones. Okay, go ahead.
Well, they gave me a free phone, so I was like, okay.
I understand that's the other dude's phone. What? No, don't worry about it. We all been there. We all need the sneaky link phone. We all been there. But go ahead, ma'am. You dry snitch tonight, but go ahead.
No, I was calling about Jean-Michel Basquiat because I was an art student. I was an art history student, and I had to literally quit art history. I don't even want to do artwork because these bastards, what they will do, like what they did with Jean-Michel Basquiat, they will lowball them when they go to the gallery, because the gallery is different from the museum. The gallery, you can spend money. They buy stuff in the gallery, and what they would do is they'll lowball him, and some unknown whitey get more money than him, even though nobody knows who the hell that whitey is. And this was a standard practice. They would do that all the time. That was standard operating procedure. So if you were black, you only get maybe a couple $1,000, but some whitey nobody ever heard of will get $10,000 for their work. And then what would happen was, and especially when you pass away, they will definitely make bank on that black guy. It was like, oh my God. It's like they practically pimping them out. You know what I mean?
They wait till you're safe, in the words of James Baldwin, to when you're safely dead. That's where they always, we come back and ravage your assets when you're dead and you can't claim anything on it.
I'm like, that's why I couldn't get down. I was like, I just was like, I literally said, I stopped making artwork. I was like, I don't even make any artwork because I would have to slash all of it up because I didn't want anybody to get their hands on it other than my family, because they would literally take your artwork and then make bank off of it. And that's what they did to Jean-Michel Basquiat. It was dirty work. They did him dirty as hell.
Oh, ma'am. Whether it is picture art, recorded music, movies, I mean, your intellectual properties and stuff, this is what they've been doing ever since you were able to mass market these things. Once they did that, it's like, oh, we are the prime target for them stealing things from us. Stealing, muscling out. They suppress your ability to make a profit, or they hold you down until they can get you to sign a bad deal. So if it's music, we're going to suppress you till you sign this bad deal because it's the only one you're going to get. You know, if you try to do it on your own, we're going to put a bunch of headwinds against you. So you're making a bunch of pennies. So it takes you forever to actually get somewhere. So yeah, it is a system. Once you're describing it's a system. So the art scene and whatnot, and you already know a lot of that is for tax purposes. So art is, for those of you who want to look into it sometime, you all can go take a look and see how art is used by rich people, you know, as a store of wealth. It's really been taken off in the last 2 decades in particular. So yeah, once again, we start controlling things. We control who gets famous. We control who gets on. You know, we control who gets popular. And then that way they can make a bunch of money. But we're going to make sure we keep this within the race. We're going to make sure we keep that there. So there's a reason why, what's his name? I forget the one out of Banksy. So nobody even knew who the hell he was. They claim they figured out who he is. I mean, we're not sure yet, but if that is the guy, think about that for a few moments. Totally anonymous, and they made him, I mean, outrageously popular and famous and with money. Totally anonymous.
There's another thing, because in art history, a lot of them go into law, and the people who talk about artwork, they have a little thing that they do. And I was like, they like to spin. They spin everything. They find when they can't get into a market on, I can't. Van Gogh was broke, but somebody came up and showed, maybe you should buy this so they can make some money. They will spin the block on you. They spin the block. And it's like, they always come back and they spin the block, and a lot of them go into law, and that's why they always spin in the block in the law rooms and everything. They make up stuff, and like, because they need to spin because, I can't get this artwork, so I'm gonna find this other person's artwork that nobody knows, and I'm gonna tell you how amazing their artwork actually was. Van Gogh died broke.
Yeah, when you're alive, they tell you it's worthless. When you're alive, they tell you it's worthless. All the doors are closed. Nobody accepts you. You didn't make a dime. As soon as you're dead, okay, let's go ahead and pick over these bones here now that you can't capitalize on it. We'll go buy your stuff for a song. We'll buy your stuff for a song, and then once we have possession of it, then it's off to Christie's or Sotheby's, and now we can go ahead and start the raping. And that's the way that goes.
That's how the art history world works. That's how art works.
That is exactly it. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, sister. We appreciate that. Yeah, that's what they do, folks. We'll hold you down. You don't get a record deal. You don't get a movie deal. Jay-Z gonna make sure you don't get that. Once you do get that, here, sign this 720 deal. It ain't a 360 deal. Nigga, we just got you spinning. What? Here, go ahead and sign away your life right quick. And then after we've gotten that, okay, let's go ahead and throw this on up here. You know, when I talked to Jadakiss, that was what Jada said. Jada said they always make money. That was what he told me. Jada said they always make money. He's talking about the record labels. The record labels, these distributing folks, he said they always make their money. I'm not just saying that they always make some. He's talking about he didn't really subscribe to the idea that, these albums didn't make money. He was like, no, they always make money on this stuff. And I think there's a very good argument to be made for that. They want you to believe that, we lose money on 8 out of 10 of them. Okay, but if they were losing money on it, then how in the world did you sit up? Why in the world are they holding on to it then? I mean, if it's no good and it's worthless and it's not worth anything, you don't hold on to something if it's worthless. You should be trying to offload that if it's not worth anything. So they tell you that. And then next thing you know, they sell it off to some what they're doing now is selling off these hedge funds and things, and we're going to go get mechanicals. How can you get mechanicals on something that's worthless? How can you get mechanicals on something that's not making any money? How can that be? Well, no, we got you this on a bad contract, and now we own it, and every time you come and talk to us, we're going to tell you it's bad, but, you know. I mean, look, for Banksy, where in the hell do you send the damn checks to? If he sells a piece of art, it's like, okay, he's anonymous, but they're selling it, and okay, how does that work? Where are you making out the damn check to then? But then we'll tell you what they don't have for you. Let's go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again. Let me see if we can get Terrence up here on Zoom for us here now. Let me see if we can get Terrence up here. Okay, folks, make sure that you are staying by your phone so that when you get called up to the mic here, you can go ahead and speak. If you sit up here and step away, you're going to have to get axed. Okay, Terrence, I don't see anything. I'll give you 5 seconds. Make sure you have your microphone and camera turned on just so we don't have any trolling issues. Nobody on YouTube is going to see you, just me, but just to make sure we don't have any trolling issues, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. I'll give you 5 seconds to do that, then we have to move on. I'll give you 3 more seconds to do that, and then we have to move on. I'll give you 1 more second to do that, and then we're going to have to go ahead and move on. Okay, Terrence, what's on your mind?
What's going on, Brother Jason? Great broadcast tonight. Calling out of Ohio. I have a quote. Here from Dr. Press Wilson. Racism is a universal operating system of white supremacy and domination in which the majority of the world's white people participate in. What I have to say is that cheeky Rick Child has committed 3 different types of shootings, acts of violence over the last 12 to 13 years of him being in business. And each time it was an FBA person, and the FBA community in South Carolina did nothing to shut him down. Nothing at all. FBA's kept supporting his business, paying his bills, putting his children, grandchildren through college, fancy dinners for his wife, a great nightlife, etc. So to Child and his entire family looked at FBAs in South Carolina as a weak group of people that is not on code at all. Just a bunch of people who want to entertain, joke, hug everyone, and always saying sorry to people who do not deserve it. I also blame the DA who did not put a manslaughter charge on Child, so he could not walk free. That's not a true DA. That is just a sign of a weak FBA man. I'm gonna call it how I see it. We need more FBAs who want power, not FBAs that want to entertain people who hate you. We need FBA lawyers who turn into judges, politicians, med students who turn into doctors, veterinarians, local councilmen and councilwomen. And as far as Dalton Etherly, aka Chud the Brokeback, that dude's a clown. I really do hope that FBAs are not feeling sorry for this guy or want Jesus to save him or even think that this slogan can even change. I hope everyone is praying for our young FBA 19-year-old brother down there in Texas, Carmelo Anthony. And I'm going to leave y'all with this. Dr. Neely Fuller said, if you don't understand white supremacy, racism, everything else that you do understand will only confuse you. Be one, Brother Jason.
Thank you for giving us a call here tonight. Look, I say, being on code, folks, starts from the soil. These folk ain't never had no love for us. So it has to be on code to do that. The athletes are the $1 million slaves, man. White supremacy is not giving them money because they're going to be renegade. They got them checked up one side and down the other. They got a receipt for their asses. They want to be slaves on the damn plantation. So you're not going to get anything from them. If it's going to happen, it's going to be you and me and us and we. For those of you who are in the churches and whatnot, it's like, okay, either the pastor is going to be on the same damn page you on, or you got to get up out of there. You have to get up out of there. And then we have to give alternatives to it. I know it's a dirty game, but once again here, I'm seeing too many folks sitting around here. They're getting older. They got their pensions. I'm seeing folks on cruise ships. I'm seeing people with their Chanel bags. At a certain point, man, we don't have an excuse for that. We really don't. We really don't. So he's absolutely right about having the skill sets and stuff. It starts there, having a mission and a purpose. And then from there, you get everybody else in line. From there, you get everyone else in line. I'm going to say that Charlemagne is from South Carolina. What? Was he from Monk's Corner? Right down the road from Charleston. I say down the road, but you get the idea. So it isn't just NBA athletes. Okay, he just made a $200 million deal. So it's not just the NBA athletes, y'all. Too many folks sit up here and the first thing they want to do is ball out and fall out. That's the first damn thing they want to do. So it isn't just relegated to your so-called athletes and rappers. I met a whole bunch of these people, seen a whole bunch of these folk here, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. Well, in the chat room, what'd you say? He booed up with Andrew Schultz. What? So, yeah, I guess that kind of answers it, doesn't it? I guess that kind of explains it, doesn't it? I mean, we ain't talking about folk who just skating by with 1 million and that's it. We talking about folks sitting on 40, 50 million and it's okay, ain't nothing moving. How the hell is that possible? It's possible because, yeah, there you go. Look, I know what some of y'all are thinking. I can't answer those questions for you. Is it Illuminati? Did they like sign a deal that says what they're not going to do? But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's necessary. I think that it's the system, these folk who are in charge. You can't get a big deal unless you basically are already sold out. They know the folk who are talking about overturning the system. They're not going to hand a $50 million check to somebody whose goal is to overturn the system. The $50 million checks are for the house slaves. For the niggas who ain't going to really do anything. They don't mind giving it to you because they know you're just going to go off and go buy consumer goods with it, invest in yourself, have a bunch of bastard kids, chase a bunch of whores around, do a bunch of drugs, rinse and repeat. So for the people who are going to overturn the system, it's like, nah. I mean, look, hey, they pick folk who they like, hey, you know, folk been talking about you, so we got this thing over your head, you know. Hey, you better not get out of line. We hate for some of this old dirt to come back up again, so you need to just play straight. We gonna go ahead and cut this little check for you here, but better not get out of line with it now. Anytime we want to come back, that'll be our excuse to yank everything out from up under you. They let R. Kelly have a good long run, didn't they? What? Oh, they let R. Kelly have a good long run. R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, O.J. Simpson. Oh, they let you have a big long run. But better not get out of line, because we got something we can use to come and yank this rug out from up under you. So don't go getting any ideas, because you know we can make it happen. So I'm going to just say I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if that's the case. Diddy, Diddy, they let him have a long run. Yeah, they let you have a long run. We got some of the richest black folk in the world sitting behind bars. Some of the richest, wealthiest, most valuable black folk in the world sitting behind bars as we speak. Or are in danger of something like that occurring. They're either sitting behind bars or are in danger of it. Okay. And these folk be like, it's like, okay, they didn't say anything. Ain't that amazing? All these corporate media outlets, I mean, everybody wants to talk about pedophiles, but you can be married to one and they don't really say anything about that. So it's okay. Here's your next record deal. Here's your Ticketmaster thing. I thought y'all was canceling people for that. We pick and choose who we cancel. Really? Oh, okay. You can admit to crimes. We can drug niggas. We can rob niggas. That's legit. Well, it depends. If you're on the team, yeah. I thought this was going to be headline news, and you can't get away from it. Oh, no, we target you with these articles. TMZ and our hit websites, oh, we target you with those. So you only become a story there if we want to take you down. But if you're on the team, don't worry, TMZ ain't never going to talk about you. TMZ will not be doing any articles about you if you're on the team. If you're not, well, next thing you know, all of a sudden you're an article on TMZ and New York Post. All of a sudden TMZ and New York Post are picking it up and broadcasting it. So, yeah, that's the way that works. It's not accidental. It's not accidental. So if you're on the team and they got something on you to make sure you don't get out of pocket. They got some dirt on you to make sure you ain't going to get out of pocket. All right, we got Ike up here on Zoom. What's on your mind, Ike?
Yeah, I think you need to do a pull up on Colombia because there's a lot of stuff going on in Colombia. I have rental property in Colombia, so I'm very familiar with the area. And this is right smack dab in, I believe, Jim Clyburn's area. Could you imagine if a black person owned that gas station and he was shooting up people and the state would have shut that gas station down a long time ago, or they would have made them hire security or do something, because there's a gas station in Charleston. They kept having shootings and all the police getting called out. The state shut that gas station down. They call it a public nuisance. They got to shut down. So how can an Asian man own a gas station and have all these incidents of shooting and the state not step in and shut that gas station down?
Because he's their agent. He is their agent of doing that. So they brought him into the country. They brought him in. He is a part of the plan. They put him where he is. They told him you can have a store here, but you can't have one on the white side of town. The same thing it always is. These folk, they're not on the white side of town doing that.
Because what I'm thinking is, you follow the money. Who approved the loan, the business loan, to buy that gas station? When you start following the money, it's like these people that get here, they get all kind of financial backing, 0% loans to open all these businesses. And then they come in, they extract resources from the community, use it to send their kids to the white private school across town. And then they're left to maim, murder, and kill our children.
Well, brother, I got to tell you, for those of y'all who wonder where that stuff comes from there, I got to explain to you. Yeah, some of the white banks are involved, but to be totally honest with you, particularly where the Asians are concerned, the ones from the Orient, they don't need that anymore. I covered that a decade ago in my second documentary film, Gentrified. I covered it then. Brother, I've been to most of the Chinatowns in this country at this point. There's really only like one or two I haven't been to yet. They got Asian banks. I'm talking about straight from Asia. So East West Bank and all the rest of them in Chicago. I drove down the street showing y'all they got a whole bunch, two branches of East West Bank on the same damn block. You know, so a bunch of them. So we got straight Asian banks. The Bank of China in Houston. So in D.C. So they got straight up Asian banks for Asians sitting right here on American soil, brother. Right here. So they got access to capital and funds on American soil while we don't even have the Freedmen's Bank back, by the way.
And everything you're saying about Koreatown, Chinatown, all them different towns right here in major U.S. cities is correct. I go to Seattle maybe once every other year. Chinatown in Seattle, the road signs are in Chinese, the building, the names on the buildings are in Chinese. You can't even read the signs. I'm talking street signs and all. And these people have been propped up and given a chance to extract resources from the black community. Yet the black people in those communities are being targeted. And it's just like, at some point we gotta shine the light and expose what's going on, so that we can get these people up out of here.
Well, this is the cost of not being on code, brother. It is not a victimless crime. It is not innocuous. If you are not on code, this is the situation. And we had some black banks and things, but I want us to understand how vicious the situation is. So when you talk about the Carolinas, you know, a lot of big money is moved in there. You know, when you talk about South Carolina, particularly Charleston, all the way out to Isle of Palms. So Charleston, Mount Pleasant, Isle of Palms, you know, a bunch of big money has come out there, bro. A bunch of big money has come out there. And you're supposed to have your politicians and your community leaders and stuff like that on top of that to control that. And that's not what's happened. So everybody else is being allowed to come in, brought in, capitalizing on it, the prime real estate and everything. And it's going to continue to keep doing that. But this is the cost of not being on code, brother. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, I just want the people out there to just keep your eye on Columbia, South Carolina. I'm very familiar with that side, with that part of the South Carolina. People actually commute from Columbia to Charlotte. It's that close. So real estate's booming out there. There's a lot of black businesses out there. There's enough ancillary support systems where the black community can circulate their dollar amongst themselves. There's no need to go to the Asians or the Latinos. There's anybody from Columbia knows you don't need to support Asian and Latino businesses. There's enough black people in that city to support amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, Florence, Columbia, Charleston, there's a number of them. Hell, the goddamn Buc-ee's in Florence. So that tells you everything you need to know right there. When you see a Buc-ee's show up, it's like, oh, you on the map. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, when you see a Buc-ee's show up, it's like, oh, you have arrived. That's like when they put Whole Foods in your neighborhood. If there's a Whole Foods in your neighborhood, it's like, oh, you own. So when you see a Buc-ee's show up like that, it's like, oh, okay, you are significant. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If a Buc-ee's shows up, you are significant. All right, let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again. Let me see if we can get one brother up here on Zoom for me. All right, we got one brother up here on Zoom. What's on your mind?
B1, good evening, sir. You laid out for us earlier, the white supremacists, they've set up our defense for us. You call us slurs, we're threatened. If we're threatened, we need to neutralize. And if we neutralize them, even in the back, we're justified. So my question is blind brazenness on their part, or is it something they've accounted for?
Okay, say that last part again.
Is this blind brazenness on their part to just roughshod through these situations and set up essentially defenses that we can use to our advantage, or have they accounted for this situation that they're setting up?
Okay, you're talking about the white supremacists?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, understand exactly what the goal is first, because you have to understand what that is. Why did you have Dr. Laura Schlesinger? And all this is going to sound familiar to you all, but I'm just reminding you that it hasn't changed, and my justifications and explanations have not changed. Why did you have Dr. Laura Schlesinger demand to call this woman nigger on the phone? Why did you have Hulk Hogan? Why did you have Dog the Bounty Hunter? Why did you have all these other folk here? Why is it that Tim Pool, Matt Walsh, why is it that this is so damned important to them? Because they don't, as long as you have the ability to tell them what they can and cannot do, they are not supreme. If you have the ability to limit them, then they're not the boss, you are. Now that's the reality of it. They can do all this other stuff that you can't do, but if there's one thing that they can prevent you from doing, that you have the ability to do and they don't, well, what do you just tell them? Well, he's the boss. If he can limit me, then I'm not the boss, he is. And so all of this is about defeating and destroying that. So these are not symbolic gestures. They are obsessed with it because they understand if you can put brakes on them and if you can stop them and if you can tell them no, then they're not in charge, you are. Even if you're poorer than them, even if you're boxed in, even if you're under a police state, if you can put limitations on them, you're the one running it. So that's why it's got to be broken down. Now, there are individuals like Jared Taylor who would advise them, don't do that. You're being emotional. You're being impulsive. This is actually bad because what you're doing is you're making white supremacy undeniable. the ability to institute the system, it needs cover. Because the simple fact of the matter is blatant open white supremacy is a target. It's only not a target if you can get everybody to go along and say it's not really there. Now, that's the only way you can keep it from being a target, is if you can get everyone to go along with it. When you start becoming blatant and militant and attacking people, now it's a target. And that's why he was telling the rest of them, pipe that mess down, promote the policies, but promote them quietly. Do not make them combative. When you do that, you don't just put people on alert, you put them on the march. They're not going to just sit there and let you rebuild a plantation. They're not going to just do that. Not if they see you showing up with bulldozers and backhoes and 15 trucks of lumber and nail guns and making a bunch of racket. They're going to come stop you. If you're going to build this plantation, you must build it slowly and subtly. If you do, and you must call the plantation a theme park. You can't call it a plantation. To which the blunders and the other failures in life and the Tim Pools and the Matt Walshes, wait a minute, but this isn't a theme park, this is a damn plantation. Since when the hell do we let the slaves tell us what to do on the plantation? So that is the dynamic. That's the conflict. They have a plantation and they want their plantation to be a plantation. And they don't want you having any control or any say. Otherwise, they can't enjoy their plantation. So as long as you can put limits on them, they cannot enjoy whiteness. That is what the struggle for them is about.
Well, speaking of those of us they can't stop, shout out to the undisputed forever king of pop, Michael Joseph Jackson. Is Netflix plans to do a hit piece on him, or any of the white media's plans to do a hit piece on him, a threat at this point, given the numbers that he's amassed, even posthumously?
Yeah, it's over. They took their shot 30 years ago, bro. It was over then. They're just basically, what they're letting you know is white supremacy doesn't forget. When white supremacy takes a L, you got the enemy for life. That's what they're showing you. They took a huge L from Michael Jackson 4 times. I didn't say 2, I said 4. Jason, what in the world are you talking about? Number 1, highest selling album ever. Number 2, dethroned and eclipsed Elvis Aaron Presley socially. Michael Jackson didn't just sell a bunch of albums and then dance in the sunset. Michael Jackson said, by the way, where's your daughter at, Elvis? As if seeing the fact that you dead and you ain't doing nothing with her. Where's she at? It was after that all of a sudden he becomes wacko jacko and they start attacking him. Because that was adding insult to injury. So those were the first 2. That you sold more than Elvis and then you erased Elvis. Nobody talks about Elvis Presley today. Okay, for those of you who are much younger like yourself, brother, I was there in the early 80s. I remember this because Elvis hadn't been dead a decade yet. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I hurting some folks' feelings? Oh, man. All right. Well, for those of you who don't remember, Elvis Presley died in 1977. So Michael Jackson erased Elvis Presley in less than a decade. Now, let me put this in context for you all. For those of you who are too young, you weren't there. Elvis Presley dying affected white society like Tupac when he died. You all don't understand. They were traumatized. I was a little child and they were still traumatized. It was less than a decade later. They were traumatized by Elvis Presley dying. That wasn't something they took easily. They hadn't moved on. They were still lionizing him. They were still mourning at Graceland. I mean, they were trying to turn him into a god. They were very much traumatized by the death of Elvis Presley. The females were crying. They were still selling that. The commercials used to be on TV, still trying to sell albums. So when he died, brother, they were not over it. And Michael Jackson just bogards right in and just say, hey, a new king in town, and got them to drop it just that quickly. So I'm telling you is that, brother, Graceland was an amusement attraction. You all don't know that. Graceland was an amusement attraction, y'all. Dollywood comes along later, Dolly Parton and whatnot. So that's why they got mad about Neverland. Well, yeah, I mean, that was directly patterned after Graceland. So everything that Elvis Presley was and had done, Michael Jackson did it better, to the extent that now you don't even talk about it. All right, well, now all this time later, nobody talks about Elvis anymore. Thriller still sells what? Damn near 100,000 albums a year? Thriller still sells to this day. To this day. You cannot say the same in volume about Elvis Presley. I'm talking about one Michael Jackson album, not his library, just the one. So there is no comparison. So socially, it's bad enough that Elvis had to die. You come along and obliterate him and then technically dance on the damn grave. It's like, oh no, nigga, the beef is on. The beef is on. It's on site. And it has been ever since. Now you add to it the Beatles catalog. Damn! Oh, brother, the hits keep coming. Now you add to it the Beatles catalog. Now the industry is like, this nigga got to die. And then you add to it, okay, let's see if we can get some kids to throw some charges on him. Surely this will work. And it didn't. So Michael Jackson beat them 4 or 5 times, not once. So this is a blood debt. And what they are determined to do is try to do to him in death what they failed to do in life. They haven't let that go because, once again, remember, once you become an icon, once you become a symbol, you now inspire others. So they haven't let the campaign go because now he serves as an inspiration to others. So even in death, he's problematic. No, you cannot afford to you can't afford to let this go. You just got to keep going at him. And it's failed, and they'll continue to fail. So the best they can do is try to make money hating on him, which is basically what they're doing right now. Let's see if we can make some money hating on him. But as far as winning, Brother Michael won decades ago. There is no beating him. He won decades ago. All they can do is sit over there and hate. And the more they do it now, the more the bad guys they look. Because the problem with this movie is it shows you, yeah, you all lost. Not just that he won, but you lost. Now they're the bad guys. Now they're the bad guys. And the next generations are adopting it and accepting it. Yeah, you guys are the bad guys. Brother, he's already won. There's no beating him now. All it is a bunch of haters making themselves look crazy.
Well, as phenomenal as that is, obviously, you also showed that stellar example of organized Black activity earlier at that HBCU. And I'll leave you with this last question. Are these people talking about, the organizations, the Black orgs, all the stuff, are these people still an obstacle for us at this point?
Technically, simply because they serve as a draw and an influence on younger, impressionable minds. If they were not there, we have enough distractions to draw young people away with. If they weren't there, at least that wouldn't be a distraction that was potentially could lure them away into nonsense. So I think that would serve us better because at least you wouldn't have somebody working proactively to be salesmen to nonsense to them. So that would be a positive. Without it, sure. It definitely would. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again. I got, what is this? Fixton. All right, Fixton, try turning your thing sideways, dude. You're sideways in the game. There you go.
How you doing tonight, brother?
All right, Fixton, what's on your mind?
My name is Jabril Muhammad. I'm the dude commenting, dropping some super chats in here. First, I want to say I appreciate you for everything you've been doing for us in the community, man. Just spreading your message is amazing. I wanted to ask you a question about how do we begin to start focusing on us around economics more? How do we start that? That's just my question. Where can we start?
First of all, it starts with you and me and us and we. It starts with you as an individual. You are a cell in the body, just like a human organism. So you can't have a healthy body if you don't have healthy cells to begin with. So you as an individual, if you are a powerless person, all you can really do is do a bunch of talk. And there's where we run into trouble. We need people with disposable income, savings in the bank, and good credit scores. I mean, and that's literally what it is. And you might not have enough necessarily individually of yourself, although that's a problem too. But at least if you have nothing, then all you got is a bunch of talk. At least you can join together with somebody else if you got something. Even if all you all have is just, some pieces, you can put your pieces together, which is the real thing. So it starts with you as an individual. And it's going to be an uphill climb because these other folk have a century-long head start on you. Now, some of that has not been our fault, obviously. We have been, unlike anybody else, we've been targeted by a government specifically. So all of our assets, all of our wealth, it has been government policy and remains to this day to target ours. Everybody else is given assets. Government policy is to give them assets and to target ours. So if you got a house, we're going to redline you, price you out. If that doesn't work, we'll drop a freeway on it or an airport. We'll come up with some reason to snatch what you got. So that's what we're up against. It doesn't help when people get more easily under those circumstances, which I know are debilitating, but then you get more easily distracted. So you're going to have to double down on it. For the last century, there's really not been there have been certain situations that have excuses because we already had John Johnson and Johnson Publications. We already had Bob Johnson and BET. We've already had a bunch of coonified athletes and entertainers. So there's been billions of dollars, but if you're off code, it doesn't work. So it wasn't that we didn't have money show up. It's just that it showed up for all the off code folk. Although there's also another uncomfortable aspect of it, which is that for those of us who are more serious minded, it doesn't do us any favors if the most motivated people are the off code folk. Because we can sit here and sing our virtues all we want to, but if the off-code people are more motivated, more driven, okay, if they want their drugs and their whoring more than you and I want black empowerment, well, that's going to be on us. And that's really what it is.
Yes, sir. I think with this, and I want to go to this 14-year-old that just got murdered, ran down. That was a wake-up call for myself. I just had a daughter not too long ago, and it seems like there's an open season target on us. And then even also on this Chud the Builder thing, how they're funding literally racism. They're funding their people. So I sent you an email because I'm not going to solicit my business or advertise what I do, but I really want you to check your emails, man. I've been working with this specific technology for about 7 years, even to the point I used to be homeless. So I went to school to learn how to code. And then I learned about this blockchain technology. I've been investing for the last 7 years, but I understand it at such a level. And I really want you to see what I have built. So this is why I came on the channel, just to salute you and also get some feedback on how we can improve, how we can start to collaborate more. But yeah, that's all I got to say, man. I really appreciate
brother.
You,
well, when you move 7 or 8 figures with it, let me know.
Yes, sir.
Until then, we don't have anything to discuss. So once you move 7 or 8 figures with it, then let me know.
Okay. I'll come back in a couple of months.
Thank you for giving me a call. Yeah, folks, like I say, if the off-code people desire it more than us, if they're more driven, if they're more motivated, if they want their whoring and drugs and debauchery and interracial sexual debauchery and nonsense, if they want that more than you want empowerment, it's a sad commentary, but it is what it is. I didn't say it's going to be great. I didn't say it's going to be wonderful. I didn't say it's going to feel good. But if they want that more than you want liberation, if they want that more than you want empowerment, if it means more to them than you, if they're willing to sacrifice more than you are, then they got it. They got it. For our generation, I mean, we've been complaining about the athletes forever. That's it. Forget it. They're owned by the system. They're owned by the system. They belong to the game. So we just got to work in ourselves. We got to work in ourselves, and we do. We do when we can. But I want you to be aware that, by the way, yeah, some of these body blows, that's very, very uncomfortable, and it should be. Because the stakes are real. The stakes are your children. The stakes could be yourself. So it's not a game. It's a very, very real thing. Very real and very serious. And these other folks, as you can see, are playing for keeps. These other folks are playing for keeps. So play with it if you want to here. I promise you they're not. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank everyone who's contributed for tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Brother Fuquan. Thank you very much for your support here tonight, brother, to DBP, Wesley, Ryan, and everybody else here. Thank you very much for your all support here tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. So click that subscribe button, that notification button. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work at blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight's program live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.